That picture says it all. Slight breeze, about 60 degrees, sunny skies. Third member of our crew today, Otis Livingston. Welcome, Otis.
All right, thanks a lot, Kevin. Before today's game, Jets wide receiver coach Sanjay Lal told me that he's been impressed with Percy Harvin's work away from the field, his study habits at home, that he's eager to be a part of this offense, eager to get up to speed, and that bodes well for the Jets not only today, but going forward.
All right, thank you. There you see Percy Harvin deep back. Remember the last time he returned to kickoff here? It was a Super Bowl touchdown, an 87-yard touchdown that basically shut the door on Manning and the Denver Broncos.
The place is going to go crazy, Kevin, if he makes a big play here early.
To kick off for the Buffalo Bills will be Jordan Gay. This is one of the few teams in pro football that has 3 different kickers, 2 kickers, and a punter. And so here we go, the Bills and the Jets. Harvin looking into that bright New England sun, and away he goes. Finds a bit of a seam, finds a gap, off to the races and past the 30-yard line. And brought down on the play by Robert Woods, a 35-yard return. Already he's got them going here on the edge of their seats in New York. This will take us to the quarterback for New York. Richie thought the quarterback Geno Smith played his best game last week against the New England Patriots.
I really did. I just thought he was so much more decisive. He seemed more focused and better prepared. I think he needs to continue, Kevin, using his legs. That was a big story 10 days ago up there in New England.
With a 1st and 10, looking for Decker, throws him back of in. McKelvin on the coverage. It'll be 2nd down and 10 on that offensive line for the Jets. Ibushi makes his 2nd career start today. Pro Football Focus says Nick Mangold is the top center so far in the NFL. Running back Chris Ivory is coming off a 100-yard rushing game, 107 to be exact, against the Patriots on Thursday night on CBS. 2nd down and 10. Harvin in the slot. Fake to Ivory. Here comes Smith wanting to run outside. He is met by a couple guys, including Preston Brown, who brings him down, and no gain on the play. Bringing up 3rd down and 10. Buffalo's defense, number 11, but number 4 against the run. Marcel Darius with 7 sacks. He has been dominant. Brandon Spikes, one-time Patriot, now is in the middle with Kiko Alonso out all season long. We just saw Preston Brown make that stop. He is a good-looking young linebacker. And Leotis McKelvin is having an all-pro season so far. 4 interceptions in the secondary for the Bills.
And Kevin, this is really where the Jets struggle on 3rd down. It's been a problem for this offense all season.
With a 3rd and 10, Powell was in the backfield into the nickel. They got Decker, but a big hit right there put on him by Denoris Searcy, making Stephon Gilmore, allowing only a gain of 4. He's out to the 34, and that means the Jets will be a 3 and out on their first offensive possession today. Gilmore, number 1 pick out of South Carolina a couple years ago. So Leotis McKelvin is deep back to retrieve the punt from New York. Ryan Quigley, number 5 in gross, number 2 in net in the NFL, ready to boot it away. For punt, little hang time, returnable for McKelvin from the 25. And at the sideline, about the 35 with an 11-yard return on a 41-yard punt. This takes us to the Buffalo offense, and 10-year veteran Kyle Orton has led the Bills, Rich, to 2 game-winning drives in his 3 starts so far.
Kevin, he's really made a difference for the Bills. They were struggling with E.J. Manuel. Orton comes in. He's the experienced guy. He's the veteran that's been in the league a while. He started for 5 different teams, but I think he finally feels like he's found a home with the Bills.
They'll begin things 1st and 10 from their 36. Bryce Brown gets the call. He was up to about the 42-yard line, hit by a slew of tacklers, including Davis, and a gain of about 5 right there. New left guard Craig Urbick starts for rookie Cyril Richardson today. Piers has been an issue at the other guard. Glenn so far the most reliable. And in the backfield they listed Anthony Dixon, but in actuality it was Bryce Brown who gets the start. They take the place of some injured backs. We talked about that 2nd down, long 4. And again, they go up the middle with a tackle made by David Harris. And the run right that time by Boobie Dixon on a gain of a yard. That Jet defense, Muhammad Wilkerson anchors a terrific Jet front three. He's been great. Harris has been the leading tackler so far, as he has almost every year. He's been a Jet. Secondary is an issue. Veteran Landry is at the safety. Antonio Allen is in there. His best game is against Chicago with 10 tackles. 3rd down and 3. Dixon in the backfield. They're looking for Watkins. The coverage on the play by Walls and a late flag thrown on the 42-yard line on the far side.
He just jumped on the back of Sammy Watkins.
Pass interference. Defense. Number 30. Spot foul. Automatic. 1st down.
Well, this is really where they're struggling, Kevin, at the cornerback position. I mean, they're going to have their hands full today against Sammy Watkins. You see Darren Walls right there. I mean, he just hooks him with the right arm and just drags him down from behind. They look a lot different in the secondary, the cornerback position. You won't see him play as much press man-to-man. They're playing a lot more off coverage. I don't think either of these cornerbacks really trust their speed against some of these Bills receivers.
And there is some speed there, obviously.
Pass defensive holding. It'll be 5 yards from the previous spot in an automatic 1st down.
Gene Steratore is our referee today. With a look at Kyle Orton. Signed with Buffalo back in late August. 74th career start today. 5 teams, you mentioned it. And he has bounced around just a bit. But all those teams at some time wanted to keep him. He just moved on.
Yeah, and you know, he's been a starter on those teams, Kevin. And at times he has played well. He's just never really been able to hold down that job and kind of be the franchise quarterback moving forward.
They'll throw into the nickel here on 1st down and 10. Looking to run, and this is not his forte as he takes it down to about the 46-yard line. It is a gain of 7 on the play by Orton, who played at Purdue, and these are his various stops and jerseys.
He's got a lot of them, right? And,
yeah.
you know, it was interesting what happened in the offseason because he was under contract with the Cowboys. He kind of indicated that he didn't want to play anymore. The Cowboys released him, and then he and his agent decided he does still want to play, and that the opportunity presented itself in Buffalo, and it just felt right to him, and that's why he decided to side with the Bills.
4 in the secondary with a couple tight ends. 2nd down and 3, and they go to the tight end here, Lee Smith, who is brought down across the way by Landry. He works his way to about the 41, picks up 4 yards on the play. Smith with his first reception of the season for the Bills.
And Kevin, they have some enormous tight ends in Buffalo. Lee Smith, 6'6", 265. Scott Chandler, 6'7", 260 pounds. They're not the fastest guys, but they do a good job getting open in the middle of the field.
Kind of in the form of a Pete Metzler.
That's it.
From years gone by. 1st and 10. Dixon in the backfield. Orton with great time. Good block by Urbick, and he's got the open receiver. That is Woods. He's brought down by Harris. He's down to the New York 16, a pickup of 25. Orton on the money. 1st and 10 again for the Buffalo Bills.
They're just working versus zone coverage, but look how wide open Robert Woods is. I mean, there's not a defender within 10 yards of him. I mean, this doesn't happen very often in the NFL. You have to think that they blew a coverage in that situation. Kyle Orton does a nice job holding up Robert Woods in the hole.
Bryce Brown is checked in once again. He's next to Orton with the 1st and 10. Here comes Pace. There goes Couples, and down goes Orton. The blitz was called. The first sack right there. Back to the 22 and a loss of 6.
Well, this is amazing, Kevin. Last night, the head coach talked about the one thing we cannot do is get Kyle Orton hit. I mean, they don't even block either defender. Calvin Pace, Quentin Couples. I mean, how do you look at the scheme, you say, how does something like that happen? Especially down in this part of the field.
Jets remain in the base, 2nd and 16. Dixon was in. Orton, he's got Woods, and he's got the touchdown. Big time throw. They beat Allen. They were working on Pryor. A 22-yard strike, and Buffalo on the board first.
Well, just a simple post route. You're going to see Woods very patient. He gets up on the toes of the corner, Antonio Allen, and a good throw gets it done from Kyle Orton. The Bills hadn't scored an opening drive touchdown in their last 11 games.
So Orton with his 6th touchdown pass of the season. Woods in his 2nd year out of SC, his 2nd touchdown reception. And that was threaded in beautifully from 22 yards away. Woods also had a reception for 25 on that drive. Extra point and Carpenter up and in. 7-0 Buffalo as they are heard from on their first possession today. Orton a 22-yard hit. Woods in the end zone. 7-zip Bills. Orton with a nice drive. 2 long passes to Woods and they're up 7-0.
They had to overcome the sack, Kevin. That was impressive. 7 plays, 64 yards, culminating on a 22-yard touchdown pass from Orton to Woods. It's how you want to start on the road.
Another kickoff by Jordan Gay. And this is Harvin again. Had a 35-yard return the first time. Now he is brought down here with a terrific tackle made by Randall Johnson. 18-yard return. You leap high when you just caught the game's first TD like Robert Woods. I'm assuming you think they're going to use Harvin a lot of different ways on offense.
I think they will, Kevin. I mean, I think the terminology is about as similar as it gets for a guy that's coming from a different organization when you consider his background.
Here's Ivory on 1st and 10. Nothing there. Wrapped up, brought down. Preston Brown. It's a gain of 2. He's a rookie out of Louisville. Good stop right there.
And I just think, Kevin, you want to find creative ways to get Percy Harvin the ball in space. Now, keep in mind, he was frustrated with his role in Seattle. He said, I'm tired of the running plays and the bubble screens. He wants to establish himself as an every down receiver, but I don't know if that's going to happen right away here in New York. And in talking to the offensive coordinator, Marty Morning, when he said that he does know that when you just add a player 5-6 days ago, too much is just as bad as not enough. If you use him too much early in the game, he could make some mistakes and really hurt Geno Smith.
2nd down and 8. Here comes Smith looking for Harvin, overshoots him. And here come the boos again from this crowd. Searcy was over there discussing how much the playbook realistically do you think he's been able to absorb?
Well, I think it's not just the plays themselves, Kevin, and the concepts. It's lining up in the formation. You got to make sure the guy's in the right spot. Now, Geno Smith can certainly help him by tagging a play. For example, 2-jet flanker drive, halfback corner. Percy, you have the corner here. Percy, you've got the comeback. You can tell him what to do, but you can see Geno's missed a couple throws. He misses one to Percy. He doesn't have the reps. He doesn't know exactly how he's going to run the routes versus man versus zone. The timing is going to be the thing to watch between Geno and Percy.
Into the nickel, 3rd and 8. Smith wide and picked off on the play by Gilmore. They were going for Harvin. There's a block by Duke Williams. And here comes the defensive back, Gilmore, with his 2nd interception of the season. He returns it 14 yards, and they take it deep into Jet territory with a late flag thrown after the play near the 29. Ball was at the 33. 3 and interception for Smith, and Gilmore comes up with the pick.
Well, this is just a situation where the quarterback predetermines where he's going to go with the football. I mean, they call the go route to Percy Harvin. Just because they call the go route doesn't mean you have to throw it. You throw it if he beats Stephon Gilmore. In this situation, he doesn't. That was just a force by Geno Smith.
When the play was over, we have taunting. Number 53 of the intercepting team.
Bradham.
We have 15-yard penalty. 1st down Buffalo.
It's Nigel Bradham who picked up the penalty after the return, so they're going to be marched back here just a bit.
You got off coverage. Stephon Gilmore's in a bail technique. He's got his eyes in the backfield the whole way. I mean, that's just a poor decision by the quarterback. It's a force. When it's not there, find me a completion. Check the ball down. But don't throw it and force a ball in a situation like that. That's just where the inexperience shows up from Geno Smith.
Centers in the backfield with Dixon. Here comes Hort. Look at the great beginning field position here.
Check that. 52's the mic. Down. Lady.
Anthony Dixon. And initially hit on the play by Copeland. It is a gain of 2, and he's down to the 46-yard line. Well, don't miss a moment of today's football action. The CBS Sports app now has the fastest scores. Download it now to get your scores first, right on your phone. It's another interception thrown for quarterback Geno Smith, 8th of the year. Second down, long 8. Dixon remains. And they go to Woods. Good catch today. Brought down on the side by Wilson. He picks up 4. And the gain down to the Jet 43. Let's check in for the first time today with James Brown.
Key play for the Bengals.
Oh, yeah, you're going to see Dalton throw the great scintillating catch by Mohamed Sanu for 48 yards. Setting up the 1-yard quarterback sneak by Andy Dalton. Cincinnati up 7-0.
9 plays, 80 yards for the score. Kevin Harlan, Rich Gannon, and Otis Livingston.
Sanu played it here by Rutgers.
We've seen Sanu throw the football. He's got a pretty good arm, Kevin.
He played a little
high school quarterback and at college as well.
They're down in 6. Overshoots the crossing Watkins, who was free. And a punting situation coming up for the Buffalo Bills for the first time today.
Well, it's a good stop by the Jets defense. I mean, just a wasted opportunity there for Kyle Orton and the boys on offense.
Well, the Bills squander some pretty good beginning field position, too.
Yeah, you have to avoid the 3-and-outs versus the Jets. They're the best in the league at facing 3-and-outs almost a third of the time. 27 of their 82 possessions, which is the best in the NFL. 3-and-outs are demoralizing to an offense.
There's Gene Steratore, last.
False start. Offense number 53. 5-yard penalty still. 4th down.
That is 2 now. Penalties thrown on the linebacker Bradham. Doug Marrone has his team at 4-3. Beat Minnesota last week 17-16. Second place in the AFC East coming into this afternoon.
Well, he's got them playing well, and he's got to believe that they can go on the road and win against good teams, especially good defenses.
Colton Schmidt will punt. He's going to go into the end zone. And so at the 20-yard line, a third possession awaiting the Jets. 49-yard punt right there. The resume not too good. 3 and out, an interception. Here comes Smith. Here comes New York, down 7-0. Thursday, it's an all-new night of comedy on CBS, beginning with The Big Bang Theory on its new night, followed by the season premiere of Mom, the final season of 2.5 Men, and the series premiere of The McCarthy, starting Thursday, 8, 7 Central, only CBS. After the 3-and-out by Buffalo, here is a Chris Johnson catch on a little flare on 1st and 10. Run out of bounds on the play by Leotis McKelvin. Picks up a single yard to the sideline, and Otis Livingston.
Well, Kevin, as you can imagine, Geno Smith very frustrated after throwing that interception. When he came to the sideline, though, he was pounding on his helmet. There appears to be something wrong with the communications device. Marty Morningwig, the offensive coordinator, came over and asked, do we have it fixed? Do we have it fixed? It looks like they swapped out his helmet, and now he's up to speed as far as communications go.
Let's see if he gets this one loud and clear. Harvin is not in. Chris Johnson gets the call, and wrapped up immediately by Mario Williams with a gain of about a half-yard, and that's it. Let's talk about the communication, the radio for these quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks.
That's a critical point, Kevin. I mean, he needs all the help he can get. You can see him touching the top of his helmet. He wants to make sure he gets the personnel that comes on, the formation, obviously the concept, whether it's a run or a pass, and his ability to relate that information, particularly to a guy like Percy Harvin, who needs extra help, who needs some tips and reminders as he comes out of the huddle. The communication system is going to be critical with a young quarterback.
5 defensive backs out there for the Bills. Going deep on 3rd and 9. And that was picked off by Brown. They were going for Cumberland, and Preston Brown, the leading tackler, 3rd-round pick, rookie Louisville, has his first NFL interception, covering the tight end. Another Jets turnover, and a second interception thrown from quarterback Geno Smith. What a horrible start for the Jets. 3 and out, 3 and interception, 3 and interception. 2 consecutive. Here is Bryce Brown, 1st and 10 from midfield. That is down to about the 46. They jump on him right there with Damon Harrison. It's a gain of 3 yards.
Geno's not making any friends with his defensive teammates and that defensive coaching staff. I mean, he put the Jets in a real bind, Kevin, here in the first quarter. He's not gotten off to a good start, obviously. The footwork, to me, seems compromised, and he's predetermining where he's going to go with the ball. He's just forcing these go routes in to the receivers that simply aren't open.
Nice Brown on 2nd down and 7, picks up 2 near the 45. Brown is, when he came out of high school in Wichita, Kansas, he was the #1 high school running back in the country. Initially went to go play for Lane Kiffin at Tennessee, bounced around a little bit, ended up at Kansas State, was with Philadelphia. They trade him to Buffalo. And here he is starting with both Fred Jackson and C.J. Spiller shelved 3rd and 5. They've got Boobie Dixon in right now in the backfield. Good time for Orton. Going for Watkins, and some collision there with defensive back Darren Walls, but incomplete. 3 and out, they're going to have to punt. And again, they squander good beginning field position.
That's twice now, Kevin. The defense has been put out there. Last possession at the 48-yard line. This possession at midfield, and the Jets find a way to get a hold. Really nice job by Rex and his defense.
That's Jeremy Curley, who's back. They've invested in him for the future with a 4-year contract extension. And a punt for the Buffalo Bills, Schmidt. Aston went in the end zone, and this one looks like it's going to stay in. And maybe it was nicely spun there. Dean among a couple, making sure it stayed inbounds. 36-yard, well-placed punt. So here come the Jets, and another round of Geno Smith. How much patience you think the Jets have, Rich?
You know, you start a game like this, Kevin, and you're in danger of getting yanked. I mean, one more poor decision from Geno, we could see Michael Vick.
No Harvin on this 1st and 10. Good block by Boucher, and that's way over the head. Of course, Brown was all over Ivory, so it may have been wise to just throw it away because it could have been deadly. 2nd down and 10. His struggles today.
Really ugly start, right? 9 plays, 7 yards, 2 turnovers. I mean, he misses a throw high here to Percy Harvin, comes back, and this is just a force. I mean, he's not open. You don't throw the go route unless he's got a chance to beat him. To come right back. Another force to tight end Jeff Cumberland. I mean, at some point, you know, when you study Geno Smith, Kevin, at times when the primary is not open, that's where the issues start for him. He's got a tendency to rush it. He falls in love with the primary, and he can't get through his progression.
Play clock at 1. They got to call a timeout. Smith had trouble once again with the communication in his helmet. He ran halfway to the sideline to maybe get it verbally. So there was an issue with Smith and the communication from the sideline, and Marty Mornhinweg, the offensive coordinator. So he's going to go over there and try to rectify that.
You just do everything you can if you're Marty Mornhinweg to get him settled down, just to find some high completion percentage throws. Try and get him back in rhythm. And I think what you do is you take the ball out of his hands and you start relying on the running game a little bit. I think it's Chris Ivory time now. It's Chris Johnson. They've got a little bit of an offensive imbalance. They're 5th in rushing, and they're just 31st in passing. I think you take the ball out of Geno's hands.
You were talking before about watching a lot of his footwork, or the lack of footwork in tape work this week.
Yeah, you always say in the West Coast system, trust your feet. Your feet will take you to the completion, but at times you watch Geno, Kevin, he gets stuck. He gets stuck on the primary, and he can't get to the 2nd and 3rd receiver in the progression.
No Harvin on 2nd down and 10. That was tipped, and that's picked up for a 3rd time by Aaron Williams. He will take it in. Or to the pylon. No, Geno Smith makes the great tackle right there at the 1. A touchdown saving tackle, but a 3rd interception. And this time it was Williams who picks it off. Geno Smith with the tackle. And it'll be 1st and goal to go the Buffalo Bills.
Well, I think it's time to make a change. I mean, Kevin, you and I have done a lot of games together over the last 10 years. I don't ever remember a quarterback having such a poor start in the game. This is just terrible. I mean, he throws right over the head of Eric Decker. We've seen him miss a number of throws high. I think that ball's going to be just short.
I've got him spotted right now at the 1. As Aaron Williams has his 1st interception of the season. He's had a neck issue coming out of last week, but sure enough starts today and comes up with the pick. He's had 1. Brown has had 1. Gilmore has had 1 for Buffalo already.
Well, you know the conversation right now between Marty Mornhinweg and Rex Ryan. Do we make the change or do we wait? do we go with Michael Vick? This would be the first time. Set him down in San Diego a couple weeks back.
They're going to review the play and see if he actually hit the pylon when he flew over it. We'll see if Smith's tackle saved the touchdown when we come back. They're reviewing if a fumble on the return by the interceptor Aaron Williams was before the pylon or over the pylon, which makes a huge difference.
After the review, the ruling on the field stands.
At the 1.
It will be first and goal, Buffalo.
So he fumbled before the pylon.
Yeah, it would have been, if that ball had gone in through the end zone, it would have been a touchback.
Mike Carey was watching in our CBS studios. Mike, your opinion?
Yeah, guys, you were right on this one. We definitely have a fumble, but does it go inside the pylon or out? There's not visible evidence one way or the other, and so the ruling on the field stood. And if it had gone through the end zone, that would have been a touchback, a huge difference.
Thank you, Mike. Sets up another great possession for the Bills. Look at this at the 1, first and goal. Dixon in the backfield. Orton, touchdown. And it goes to the tight end, Lee Smith. First of the year, second catch of the game. A 1-yard touchdown pass. Orton's second today. And it's 13-0 the Bills, and Michael Vick is warming up.
Well, you faked to the fullback, and the tight end, he's just going to slip out. Really nice action here by Kyle Orton. You'll see him reverse out, and that's just too easy. That's like taking candy from a baby. Lee Smith wide open in the end zone.
Carpenter, 14-0. The Buffalo Bills. 4.5 in the first quarter. 3 interceptions by Geno Smith. He will be yanked. Michael Vick will come in and take it the next time the Jets have it, which will be minutes from now. Well, Vick's going to come in, Rich, and we know the backup quarterbacks don't take many reps during the week of practice with the #1 offense.
Right, so you ask yourself, how prepared is he, Kevin? He hasn't had any red zone or third down or any of the significant, important reps during the week. And on top of that, where is he at with Percy Harvin? Percy Harvin hasn't worked with Vick. Vick hasn't gotten a feel for how Percy Harvin runs certain routes. So this is not the ideal situation for the Jets.
There are so many moving parts for the Jets you can't keep track.
It's crazy. This has been an awful start for them offensively. Geno Smith just didn't look prepared.
Jordan Gay, Percy Harvin. And he submarines and goes head over heels to about the 24-yard line on his third return. Here comes Vick after the 27-yard return, and I'm sure he's got some adrenaline flowing right now.
And he's a different player. He's more apt to use his legs, Kevin, and extend plays. This is going to certainly change, I think, what Buffalo does defensively with Jim Schwartz. Well, I think they're going to be very cognizant of getting upfield with those ends, setting the edge, and keeping Michael Vick in the pocket. Force Michael Vick to function as a pocket quarterback.
Look at that resume today. Not very good. Harvin is in, and the Bills have opened in the nickel defensively. Vick to Ivory, and he's hit by Nickel Roby. It's a gain of 4, and he's up to the 28-yard line.
I'm really surprised how the Jets started the game, Kevin. It was almost as if we were going to get, this is the Percy Harvin show. You forget about the fact that the best thing that they do is run the football with Chris Ivory. I mean, they're 5th in rushing. They're averaging 135 yards a game.
But Buffalo is a stingy run defense,
I
number
know,
4.
but you got to find out, don't you?
Well, yeah. Harvin in the backfield. Vick. Cumberland almost picked off on that 2nd down and 6 in the defense there by Nickel Roby. Already 3 consecutive interceptions by Gilmore, Brown, and Aaron Williams. And Roby just about put his name on that list.
It's almost as if the Bills are running the routes for the Jets. I mean, honestly, you watch them, they're just gloving the receivers.
It's like they're being shown the plays before they...
Exactly.
Before
it's like the the defensive cards. You hold them up there and say, here's what you're going to see. They're not doing a good job creating separation. No one's defeating man-to-man coverage.
Powell in the backfield. Harvin atop your screen. 3rd and 6. 5 DBs. Good block by Ferguson, allowing time for Vick. Now here he comes. Bradham can't get him. And out of bounds, he's got the first down with his legs. Michael Vick, the all-time leading rushing quarterback with 8 right there. And a first down. to the Jet 36.
Well, this is tough if you're a defensive coordinator. I mean, this is the thing you've got to be aware of with Michael Vick. I mean, when it's not there, he has the ability to get outside and make plays, make first downs by running the football. Always keeps his eyes downfield, keeps the ball in the throwing position.
Uwasu is in as a receiver. He's in motion right in there. No. Harvin. It's 1st and 10. Ivory, and a fumble recovered by Vick on a bounce that was very fortuitous. And down he goes. I mean, bounced right in his lap as he was spinning and trying to get out of the clutter. It's a loss. They'll go back to the 30. Let's see here. At the 34, loss of 2.
The one thing they can't afford to do. I mean, first of all, they don't even block. They don't even block up front. I mean, you turn Jarris Wynn loose on the back. That's not a good thing, but Chris Ivory's got to do a better job holding on to the football. The turnovers have been devastating already for the Jets. 3 interceptions already in the first quarter.
It's like a roller coaster. 2nd down and 12. Hold on. Strap yourselves in. Vick. Amaro. That's the leading receiver. Playing tight end is a rookie. Banged by McKelvin to the 46 of Buffalo. Pick up a 21st down New York.
Well, I really like Amaro. He's a talented player. Their 2nd-round pick out of Texas Tech. Leads a team with 27 receptions. He's dropped some easy ones, but I think he's going to be a good one once he figures things out.
And now you got a little success, a little rhythm of the offense.
Absolutely. It's important. You know, it's as bad as they've played, Kevin. They get a score here. They're right back in this game.
Harvin atop your screen. 1st and 10. 2 tight ends for Vick. Oh, it was deflected. It was deflected, I believe, by Jarris Wynn on the defensive line for the Buffalo Bills. 2nd down and 10.
We talked about how important that battle was going to be up front between the Jets' interior, that offensive line, and of course those defensive tackles for Buffalo. And Jarris Wynn's playing well. And of course, you look at the big guys, Marcel Darius and Kyle Williams. They are a handful for any offensive line.
Here's the pistol. 4 defensive backs for the Bills. 2nd down and 10 for New York. Ivory in the backfield. Right on the screws. Caught by Decker. 40-yard line. Tackle made by Gilmore. He picks up 8 to the 38-yard line.
Well, Vick looks so much more comfortable already, doesn't he? The ball's coming out quick. He looks decisive. He knows where he wants to go with it.
When you came in a situation like this during your career, were you more relaxed? Did you just feel, hey, let's just find our rhythm and get going?
I think that first possession's important. I think you want to get off to a good start. You want to get comfortable. You want to get a feel for the pace, the speed of the game.
3rd and 2. The pitch to Ivory. He's got the 1st down and more. Comes out of real estate, chasing across the way. Jerry Hughes. Nice run. You were talking about it, Rich. Run a give to him. 29-yard line is where he gets to in Buffalo territory. Gain of 9. So they've had a run of 8 for Vick. 20-yard pass to Amaro. 9-yard run right there by Ivory.
And Chris Ivory, I mentioned to you during the week, Kevin, I love the way he runs with the football. I mean, he brings the pain. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. He can embarrass a defensive player.
There was some business going on outside that play once they hit the chalk and went out of bounds, and that's the discussion with Steratore and his crew. Steratore last season headed up the only crew where every official was awarded a playoff game. An excellent referee and an excellent crew, obviously. In New York today. Big stage,
fouls by
big
both
game.
teams on the play. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 10 of the offense. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 24 of the defense. Those fouls offset, and the result of the play is a 1st down.
It is a 1st down.
Well, they say it's not over till the whistle, right?
Well, it was Graham right there.
T.J. Graham.
Actually knocked over a photographer.
It's like a boxing match.
Him and Gilmore over there wrestling. 9th play of the drive. So on this drive, they've had a couple runs, and the pass to Amaro was the big play. His 28th reception of the season. Leading this team, Chris Johnson is in the backfield. 1st and 10. Harvin atop your screen. Ivory. Into a thicket of defenders, hit by a couple, including Brandon Spikes, with a gain of 3 and down to the Buffalo 26.
Man, this is really an important drive. I can't emphasize that enough, Kevin. I mean, the defense has actually played okay here in the first quarter, but The 3 mistakes by Geno Smith have really put the Jets in a real quandary. I mean, you just got to be able to do something with this drive, and the Jets have not done a good job finishing in this part of the field. They've really struggled in the red zone.
2nd down and 6, and here goes Vick. They get around D'Brickashaw Ferguson, but the great footwork of Vick, and that's an incomplete pass, kept that play alive. Going for Ivory. Coverage on the far side by Jerry Hughes. 3rd and 6 for New York.
Well, you just look at this numbers here. Look, 17 play drives, and you just look at that, the percentage of those drives that they've converted. They really struggled in this part of the field. Tied for 3rd worst in the NFL. Even going back to 10 days ago against the New England Patriots, Kevin, they had some great opportunities up there, especially in the first half, but they had to settle for 4 field goals. Not going to beat good teams settling for field goals in this part of the field.
Powell is in, Harvin is in, 3rd and 6. Vick, who's converted 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 2 on this drive. He's got Curley to the 10 for a first down, hit by Bradham. He picks up 16 on the play, and it looks like the Jets have gotten their shorts on straight after 3 consecutive interceptions by Smith. Brian pulls him, puts in Vick, and they're on the move at the end of 1. Through 15 minutes of football, those are some of the numbers. 2 touchdown passes by Orton. 3 consecutive interceptions thrown by Smith, yanked for Michael Vick, who's leading a good drive. 12th play of it coming up. They got it 1st and goal at the Buffalo 10.
Kevin, as bad as it's been for Rex Ryan and the Jets, I mean, you get a touchdown here, you're right back in it.
Amazing. Well, in Buffalo had a pretty good field position there at the New York 48, 3 and punt. At the 50-yard line,
2 poor drives, 2 3 and outs when they had great field position. They didn't take advantage of in the first quarter.
How about this? Harvin and Vick back there in the same backfield. Here comes Vick up the middle and down to about the 1. Brought down on the play by Lawson. He skirts his way for 8. The Bills have not given up a rushing touchdown all season long.
No, and you put Percy Harvin in the backfield, and look, it just gets the attention of all the Bills defenders.
Yeah, more than anything else.
He could be a great decoy.
A lot of camouflage. He's going to go wide here this time, but you're right. You've always got to account for him.
Absolutely, especially in this part of the field.
Ivory is in, 2nd and goal at the 2. Ivory, touchdown. Jets are back in business. Chris Ivory, 3rd. They get 4th rushing touchdown of the season, and Vick really orchestrated a nice drive. A couple 8-yard runs by Vick. Amaro a 20-yard pass reception, 2-yard touchdown run by Ivory. Big hole there in Cologne opening it up.
You do a nice job kicking out, pull the left guard, and that's why you want a big back like Chris Ivory down there in the red zone.
So Nick Folk will try the extra point. Just into the 2nd quarter. Drive that started back at the Jet 24. 13 plays, 5:14 on the clock. And Michael Vick takes him in. 2-yard touchdown run by Ivory. And Chris, who leads the team in yards and carries, found an easy gap.
Well, plays that look similar but are different. You get Percy Harvin coming in motion at some point later in the game. Kevin will probably keep the ball and run the option with Chris Ivory out the back door.
That was a play that Harvin ran a lot up in Seattle, that jet sweep. We'll see what happens the rest of today. This week, Thursday Night Football moves to NFL Network with an NFC South clash. It'll feature the Saints and the Panthers Thursday at 8, live on NFL Network. Carolina has picked up a little steam, and I'm always confounded by that New Orleans team. When you think they're going to just fly out of the gates, they just stagger.
Well, they're 2 different teams. I mean, they're winless on the road, but they're a lot different at home on that turf. I don't think anyone wants to win that division. They can't. Nobody wants to. They're very inconsistent when you study those 4 teams in the NFC South.
Now the ensuing kickoff by the New York Jets, and Folk will send it to Leotis McKelvin. Negligible breeze inside the stadium today, and Here he goes with his first return. Flag has been thrown out of bounds. He is waylaid by T.J. Graham. 18-yard return. He's up near the 19-yard line. It's the afternoon so far for Gene Steratore, who also moonlights as a college basketball official.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 33 of the return team. Half the distance to the goal. First down, Buffalo.
It's Ron Brooks, who is a reserve cornerback and the first guy to greet Vic after that well-orchestrated drive was Geno Smith.
And the guy that's going to take his job. I mean, if Vic plays well and they win here today, I think it's highly unlikely that they go back to Geno Smith. You know, the turnovers, Kevin, they're inexcusable. I mean, that's the thing that's really hurt Geno Smith. Just too many turnovers. He's already thrown 9 interceptions this season.
Dixon is in there, 1st and 10. Orton going deep for Watkins, and he just about had that one. The coverage there by Walls. Down about the 45-yard line in New York, 2nd down and 10.
Boy, a better throw there from Kyle Orton, and he might score. He crosses him over a little bit right at the end of that route. I'd keep taking shots, Kevin, against this Jet secondary. You've got some corners out there that played safety, that they're out of position, that aren't playing with a lot of confidence right now.
How about Watkins last week? 9 receptions against the Vikings, 123 yards, game-winning touchdown reception. 2nd down and 10. It's Anthony Dixon used to ply his trade with San Francisco. He picks up 3. A lot of guys at the bottom of the pile, including Damon Harrison to the 10.
Well, we talked about the Jets' struggles in the secondary. Where they're really good is the front 7. There's no question about that. I mean, that's a strength of this football team. You look at Muhammad Wilkerson and Snacks Harrison and Sheldon Richardson, Quentin Coples. Got experienced linebackers that make a lot of plays in space. Make it very difficult for you to run the football against that front.
Five defensive backs, including Hakeem, who has come in the 6th. Orton going deep. He's got Watkins, and buckle up. There he goes. And Hakeem brings him down. He just got in there. He plays both sides, and he was chasing down the speed merchant Watkins. An 84-yard connection. A touchdown-saving tackle by Hakeem. 1st and goal, Buffalo.
Well, this is the same route they just missed a little bit earlier, and you see him, he just goes right by Darren Walls. Now, this is unfortunate. Watch him at the end here. He begins to showboat and he eases up a little bit. He never feels Hakeem. That's a rookie mistake by Sammy Watkins. Look at him change his gait and slow up and begin to celebrate around the 10-yard line.
Hakeem, who is a return specialist and a guy who will play offensive receiver, as you see Robert Woods down. Plays defense as well, and he was put in that time, one of 6 DBs, and they get the touchdown-saving tackle. We have an injury timeout.
We're back here in New York. When we take a look at the touchdown, what would have been a touchdown, but you're going to see the pressure, but just look at the effort from Hakeem. He's going to trail all the way on the backside. It's a blitz zone. They're bringing pressure one side, and they're dropping the other. And you see a perfect throw here from Kyle Orton to Sammy Watkins, and then the showboating. And this will drive you crazy, not only as a quarterback, but as a head coach. You know Doug Marrone is going to grab the rookie once he gets to the sidelines. Great effort there, though, by Hakeem.
3 tight ends, 1st and goal at the 5. This is Anthony Dixon. And he pierces the 2. He's close to the 1, picking up 3. The Jets defense has not stopped the team from scoring in the red zone all season long.
Yeah, they've been poor down here, right? They've allowed a score on 25 straight red zone possessions going back to last year. That's very uncharacteristic for a Rex Ryan coach defense. And Kevin, you know the rookie Sammy Watkins. He's got his fingers crossed, hoping that they score a touchdown here, that they don't have to settle for a field goal.
Extra offensive lineman is Hairston, and they send in Summers, and he's in. Frank Summers takes it in for his first touchdown of the season. He's a load, and he shows you why. Bulldozing for 2, and the Bills extend their lead. with the 84-yard pass to Watkins. Teeing it up. 5-play, 92-yard Buffalo Bill drive.
And there's Doug Marrone talking to the rookie. All we can do is learn from it.
Rich, were you like that too? Would you just
I would
talk to
stop,
guys and you were running down the sideline?
I would stop about the 10 and start putting, start signaling touchdown.
I bet you did.
First of all, I never ran that far. I certainly never ran that fast. A lot of these players look up their score at the replay, and they can see that.
Carpenter puts it up and in. Harvin did that in the Super Bowl last year. He looked up at the
big screen
board as he was running for 87 and the Super Bowl touchdown kickoff return. That's Frank Summers. You flying to LaGuardia, you go right by it. Lady Liberty coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Tony Park, Boomer, and Coach Cowher with the latest NFL scores and highlights, as well as a preview of Thursday Night Football. That'll be seen this week only on NFL Network. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. What, about 5-6 miles from here, I guess, over in the broadcast center, across the river. Nice autumn afternoon here in the Meadowlands. And a lot of scoring so far. We've had a quarterback yank after 3 interceptions. That was Geno Smith. Seen an 84-yard pass to the electrifying Watkins, and here we see Harvin dropping one in the end zone. It'll be a touchback, and the Jets will start it with Michael Vick as their quarterback at their 20.
Well, Michael Vick came in and provided a spark, Kevin, for the Jets on offense. We talked about how important it is to contain him in the pocket, but he can extend plays. He can be very accurate throwing the ball on the move. As I point out, they have to be able to run the football to neutralize that pass rush of the Buffalo Bills.
So Vick with Chris Johnson in the backfield and Harvin. Those are 3 of the quickest guys you can think of in the league.
Speed.
Who's Harvin?
The question is how to get him the ball in space.
There you go. It's like a video game. Here's a pass to Harvin. Makes his first catch for the Jets, and he is twirled down across the way. Looked like Roby is the one to get him. It's a gain of 5. He's out near the 25-yard line.
I thought it was interesting in talking to defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz of the Bills last night, Kevin. He talked about the razzle-dazzle plays. He says those are the plays we can't get beat on. You know, the reverses and the flea flickers and all the gadgets they're going to have in for Percy Harvin and Chris Johnson. Of course, Michael Vick. You know, he would come into the game when Geno was playing. Now with Vick in there, I mean, there's a lot more speed on the field, and certainly a quarterback that's more apt to pull the ball down and run.
Second down 5. Harvin is in. Vick going deep and looking for Harvin. With the incompletion, he had a couple guys back there tailing him. Corey Graham, who's from Buffalo, and Leotis McKelvin.
We talked about the importance of timing and rhythm in the passing game. Well, it gets screwed up when you drop the football. Yeah. Now you've got to pick it up. Your eyes are down on the ground as opposed to in the secondary. You don't feel what they're doing back there, and then you're late down the middle throwing the ball to Percy Harvin.
Everybody's used him as a slot guy, as a gadget guy. Speaking of Harvin, I mean, you see him as a full-time wide receiver.
I'm not so sure, Kevin. He's got the straight line speed, but he's never been a great route runner, and he's had a very difficult time fitting in different systems.
Kyle Williams, now it's picked up by Cumberland after the ball came out of Vick's hand. He breaks a Bradham tackle. He's being chased, and there he is brought down by Nikel Roby at the 25. That could have been a disaster. It's a gain of a yard after all that. Kyle Williams, who is as good a defensive tackle as there is in pro football, down now, but he made that play happen.
Well, he just beats the left guard, Ibushi, little stunt, and DeBrickashaw Ferguson, and Ibushi can't pass it off.
And a Mario Williams hit from behind really is the one to cough it up. And Cumberland is on his horse, and Roby chases him down, and that's Kyle Williams, who was a Pro Bowler for 3 years in a row. Most seasons of any Buffalo player.
And he was hurt earlier in the season.
He was.
We're talking about a defensive line, Kevin, that came into this game with 24 sacks, the most in football.
Rich, you know, you put him in that category with San Francisco's Justin Smith, with Baltimore's Haloti Ngata, as amongst the best defensive tackles in pro football.
Well, there's no question about it. You just watch him here at the end. It looks like he just, someone maybe bangs his knee against somebody, or he falls on it. But you're right, Kevin. The thing that I've always admired about Kyle Williams is the motor. It never runs. It's always running hot, never runs cold. He gives you everything he has on every single snap.
Ryan Quigley punting to Leotis McKelvin. the 25, hang time of 4.8. Anything over 4.5 they like, and they'll be taken down at about the 32-yard line by the New York Jets. Ballore is the one to get an 8-yard return. They're looking at Kyle Williams. Here come the Buffalo Bills with their offense back out onto the field. A flag was thrown on the play, and there's somebody out of bounds coming down the near side.
You know, Buffalo has had some issues with penalties, Kevin. 61 coming into today's games, the third most in football.
The penalty is player out of bounds on a punt of the kicking team, number 10. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First down, Buffalo. Timeout.
It's on T.J. Graham, who is a former Buffalo Bill. Just endure the suffering.
Ow.
Pretty autumn afternoon here in the Meadowlands. Otis Livingston's on our sideline today. Kevin Harlan along with Rich Gannon. First down and 10. And the hurdling Dixon takes it up there after he's brought down, hit at least by Richardson. Picks up 4 and he flies to the 41.
Well, Buffalo has really benefited from some outstanding field position. We talk about the battle field position each week and how important it is. It's a lot easier to score when you get the ball at your own 49 every time.
Bryce Brown is in. First carries of the season today. They traded for him.
What's right? Right. Do you see right? Now.
Second down. Incomplete to Brown. Third down and 6. When you talked to Orton last night, as we know that he is operating now without key running backs Spiller and Jackson, it has put a lot on Orton's plate because they've got guys back there that are not first-line running backs.
No, and I think there's tremendous stress on the quarterback and play caller. Kev, you're talking about two special backs in C.J. Spiller and Fred Jackson. The only teammates last year to each have more than 850 rushing yards. You lose C.J. Spiller not only in the passing game, a kick returner. I think Fred Jackson is the best pass protecting back in football, so that's what I'm concerned about most, how it's going to affect Orton in the passing game.
Into the nickel. Nice defensive play right there by Davis. They were going for Chandler. First time they had thrown to him today. He's the second leading receiver on this team. Nice defensive play by Demario Davis. 3 and out. And the Buffalo Bills have got a punt again. That's their third 3 and out. And they've had the ball given to them 3 times on interceptions.
Well, that's the one thing the Jets are really good at. We talked about almost a third of their possessions. They find a way to get off the field on third down.
Punt from Schmidt. Curley is back. Wind may be, a little bit of wind may be at his back. That's caught at the 14. Hang time of 4.6. And Curley will try to search for some room, and there just isn't a whole lot there. Brought down by Dean. 2-yard return, 45-yard punt. Another look at Michael Vick, who will come back in. His team down by 2 touchdowns. So the New York Jets are going to get it after the 3 interceptions by Smith. They put in Vick, who leads a nice drive downfield. They get a 2-yard touchdown run, but they have had it the last time after Vick. 3 plays and punt. So we'll see what they do here at the 16-yard line. Ivory is in the backfield. No Harvin right now.
What is it?
Chris Ivory. Not a ton there. He was hit by Hughes. Way late on the play by Corbin Bryant. Picks up 3 to the sideline, and Otis Livingston.
Yeah, Kevin, a couple of injuries of note. The Bills wide receiver Robert Woods, he was seen jogging on the sideline lightly just a few minutes ago. He has a back contusion. Questionable for a return. And Kyle Williams, who you saw go out after the last defensive series, he has a back injury. They were stretching him out. He's expected to return.
Thank you, Otis. Woods had catches of 22 and then a 22-yard touchdown reception on the first drive by the Bills today. Second down and 7.
What is it?
Here comes Hughes. There goes Vick. Chased down the near side now by Spikes. And finds the sideline to his liking. First down. Graham ushers him away to the 31. A 17-yard run by Michael Vick. And a flag, a late one. And it was thrown well downfield at the 44-yard line. Jets come in 1-6. Bills come in 4-3 in second place. They haven't won in this city since 2009.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting, number 1 of the offense. 15-yard penalty. The play still results in a first down.
It was wiped away, a 17-yard gain.
Well, this is amazing. I mean, they don't even block the outside linebacker or defensive end Jerry Hughes, and Michael Vick still finds a way to make a miss. I don't know about this one. He just throws the ball down. I mean, is that really a penalty in that situation? That's not a
It was a dead ball
conduct.
foul. Happened after the play. Back where they started, the 16.
Looked like he threw it at any Bills player.
Harvin back there with Vick. Harvin goes out of the backfield, and Vick will search, but go underneath and find Decker, who's hit by Corey Graham, and a gain of about 4 out to the 21-yard line. Gain of 5 on the play. Watch it again.
Hey, just watch him at the end of the play. He's out of bounds. Now he's starting to come back on the field and just throws the ball down. I mean, he doesn't look at the bench. He doesn't make a gesture towards the bench. Kind of ticky-tacky, if you ask me.
Really? I'm not asking. Second down.
I think it would.
Second down and
My old
5.
coach John Gruden would go crazy right
He
now.
would, yeah. I mean, we just wiped out a 17-yard gain. They're looking for anything they get.
20!
Can't continue to make the mistakes.
Second 5. Harvin, bottom of your screen, busted play. Vick. Oh, and a fumble. And then the ensuing pile at the 30, where there's a lot of white jerseys around it. We'll see if it's the 4th turnover for the Jets in the first half. It is. Careless and a turnover. The 4th turnover for the New York Jets, who came into today -9 in the giveaway takeaway, among the worst in the NFL.
And Kevin, it's the things we take for granted. When you don't practice, it's not just the timing and the rhythm of the passing game. It's something as simple as footwork in the running game.
Duke Williams got it.
I mean, they're just going to run the ball downhill. Look at the mesh point between Chris Ivory and Michael Vick. Vick takes the wrong step. He opens up the wrong way. That's all on Michael Vick, and that's what happens when you don't practice with the starters. That should never happen. That gets back to preparation. We talk about the 5 Ps every week. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. That shouldn't happen with a veteran quarterback like Michael Vick.
4 turnovers in the first half. I mean, you
Careless.
don't have to look far to why they're 1-6.
52 for Mike!
So now, again, and this has happened a lot today, Buffalo will start in Jet territory. And they have to restrain Rex Ryan over there. Ryan has to be restrained by 2 assistants. He was on the field, and he had 2 assistants that had to block him, and they're continuing to shield him.
Well, he's fighting for his coaching life.
That's another story we haven't even gotten into.
Well, I mean, look, when you lose 6 in a row and you're the last year of your contract and the team's not responding.
Well, let's back up. Coming into this game and reading what you read and talking, and you talked to a lot of people around the league, what did you kind of summed up about where he stood at 1-6 in the trade and everything else heading into today?
Well, I think that if you're Rex Ryan, the coaching staff, and John Idzik, the general manager, comes to you and says you want to bring in a guy like Percy Harvin, why not? You know, I think that you look at Rex. He wants the timeout right before the play. He's yelling at the. Oh, jeez. Let's say he's fairly upset.
He's upset is right. First down and 10. This is Boobie Dixon running outside, and 3 are on him, including Harris. Also hit there from Calvin Pryor. He gets perhaps a yard near the 30. Well, tell me now what you thought about Ryan.
Well, I mean, look, if you're a coaching staff that's on the hot seat, why wouldn't you want an explosive player that may be able to come in and help you save your job? And I think, you say, why go out and get a guy like Percy Harvin? Keep in mind, no Jets receivers played more than 12 games last year, Kevin. And Curley led the team with just 43 receptions. Harvin's the 17th receiver to have a spot on the 53-man roster since the start of last season.
Bryce Brown always gobbled up by Richardson. Terrific penetration, loss of 5. Back to the 35. He had a great jump on that one, right up the middle, which is a soft spot in that Buffalo offensive line.
Well, he's just right here. I mean, he's a big, strong man that just beats the center right off the snap. I mean, Eric Wood has no chance to snap that ball with his right hand and get a piece of Sheldon Richardson.
They need the jet 21, 3rd and 14. Orton overshoots Bryce Brown. That's incomplete. Had Babin on him. 4th down. And the Jet defense holds, and they'll hold Buffalo to a 3-point field goal try.
You know, there's a number of blown opportunities by the Bills. Can I always worry if you let a team like this hang around, something bad's going to happen. Kyle Orton and the Bills offense, they've blown a bunch of opportunities here in the first half. They've not been able to take advantage of the turnovers and some great field position provided to them by their defense.
Here's Dan Carpenter, 53-yard try. Reeves at his back, and he got it. Nice kick. Last one from that distance was a 58-yarder, a game winner against Detroit, and Doug Marrone has taken his team to late in the first half in a 24-7 lead on the road in New York. And this one from Carpenter right there, who's now 15 of 17 kicking this season after a terrific career year a season ago where he made 33 field goals. 33 of 36. He's money. Well, coming up next, the NFL on CBS rolls on with a couple good ones. Andrew Luck and the Colts will take on Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or the Oakland Raiders will battle the Browns. Check local listings for the game in your area. The NFL on CBS. Here's a look at Carpenter. This Buffalo team off to their best start in 3 years. Winning 2 of their last 3. Coming off an emotional and exciting win over the Vikings a week ago, 17-16. And for the New York Jets, they played New England so well with a chance to win it at the end, losing by 2. And now here just, 10 days later, you see this team and it doesn't look like anything that we saw Thursday on CBS up in Foxborough.
Well, I think they're a better team than the record would indicate, Kevin. They've lost a number of close games, some one-score games going back to Green Bay and Chicago, Detroit, New England, as you point out. They've got to learn to finish on both sides of the ball.
Here comes Harvin. This is returnable. He's at the goal line or so, and he's looking for a block, which he receives, and then he is wrestled away, gotten around the ankles by Kenny Ladler. It's a 28-yard return. Harvin's first day in the Jet Green.
Well, they're going to try and wear him out. I mean, he's going to be back returning kicks. You could see him returning punts at some point. You know they're going to get him involved in the offense. They tried to get it to him early. Geno Smith tried to force it to him. And these bubble screens always have been a big part of Percy Harvin. You go back and you study him at Minnesota and Seattle, and you look at the plays, 10 plays at wide receiver, in the slot, in the backfield. Great variety when you study Percy Harvin. And the Bills are going to have to do a good job tracking and locating number 16.
Vick with a 1st and 10. Looking for Decker. Incomplete. Coverage by McKelvin. On that slant. Jets offense today, Rich, 4 turnovers, all in their own territory. Yet the Bills have only gotten 10 points off those 4 turnovers.
You got to give credit to the Jets defense, Kevin. They've done a pretty admirable job in some tight spots, going out in with some sudden changes and getting some stops.
You like this McKelvin, don't you?
I really do. I think he's playing well. I think he's playing at a Pro Bowl level right now. 2 interceptions last week against Minnesota, 4 in the season. He's playing with so much confidence in the secondary.
Ivory the block on a 2nd and 10 pass, which whistles over the head of Harvin. And there really wasn't much coverage over there, although McKelvin was in the vicinity. I think he read it and it was going to be so high. Incomplete 3rd and 10 for Vick and the Jet offense. The NFL mobile streaming live local Sunday afternoon app is terrific. Not only Sunday afternoon, but primetime games and NFL Red Zone right on your mobile device. Learn more at NFL.com/mobile. It's 3rd down and 10. thing is about the Jets, they didn't give up hardly anything to get Harvin. So I don't know if it's a gamble or not. You get a playmaker and a guy who becomes familiar with your offense could really be effective. 3rd down and 10, and certainly for the future. That was deflected, and on the ricochet, it was caught by Decker. And I think Bradham, the linebacker, got a hand on that ball. But the ricochet and some pretty good focus by Decker gets him a gain of 11 and a 1st down.
Well, I always felt like Michael Vick threw a pretty ball. I mean, he's got a strong arm. Did get deflected, Kevin. You're right. I think that Nigel Bradham got a part of it.
Williams was in there too, and it's good to see Kyle Williams back on that line after he had to leave. 1st and 10. Vick to Ivory.
There you go.
And finally Mario Williams got him after a gain of 3, slipping his way to about the 40-yard line. There's Ivory. Came in a trade with New Orleans, undrafted players. Had a couple 100-yard games already this season for the Jets, including last week against New England, 107.
Well, he's a talented back. I would describe him as a determined runner. I mean, he's always falling forward at the end of runs. He runs with some attitude, and he's a tough guy to bring down in the open field.
Harvin back there with Vick. 2nd and 7. Here comes Harvin. He was stuck by Brown. And now he's out to the 46, and he picks up 6 on the play. Boy, where do they get Alonso back, and they put him with Brown, Preston Brown, in that linebacking core. 2 young linebackers you can really build on if you're Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator for Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, this is becoming a really good defense, and it's not just this year. You could see it last year. They created a lot of big plays defensively.
Here's Harvin again on the pitch. 3rd and 1. He's got the 1st down, corkscrewing his way across the way to about the 46-yard line. And he picks up 8. There's Percy Harvin.
Well, these were the things that Percy Harvin was complaining about in terms of his role when we visited with him on Friday, Kevin. He said, I want to be more of a receiver. I want to be defined as a receiver and not one of these guys that comes in and plays running back in the slot and does all these different things.
Yeah, but a Ferrari may want to be, back in the back roads, but you don't see a Ferrari in the back roads. You put him where it can ride, and that's on the highway. That's where he needs to be, right?
Absolutely.
7th play of the drive with the 1st and 10. Vick, good time. Past Giacomini with a nice block, and there goes Vick again on the run. He's got a 1st down, winding his way around a curly block, and he's to the 21, 22-yard line of the Buffalo Bills. Wending his way for 24 and a 1st down for the Jets. Vick on the ground again, big chunks of yards.
Well, just keep an eye on Jay Samaro. He is wide open, Kevin, on the crossing route. You got to ask yourself, what is Michael Vick looking at? Go ahead and freeze it right there. I mean, he's just wide open right in the middle of the field. And look where Vick's eyes are. They're over here for some reason. And I know from playing in this system that ball is designed to throw it to the tight end, Jay Samaro, on the deep cross. That's what happens when you don't practice during the week.
Ivory will steamroll his way near the 14-yard line with a good-looking run. He picks up 9 yards. And again, we're not talking about a big difference in the score. One score here before halftime, and it makes your second half a little bit more interesting.
It's amazing. I mean, I keep on saying
with all the turnovers, Rich,
they're hanging around. It's amazing. This team they've got some fight. And I give the Jets a lot of credit, Kevin. And you say to yourself that you had no idea Geno Smith was going to come out and play so poorly early in this game.
2nd 1. Curley dropped the ball. Bradham is the one who kind of knocked him off stride, and Curley could not kind of gain his wits about him and drops it right there. 3rd and 1.
I feel like going in that film room on Monday morning. Just watch this. You're going to watch the tight end into the coming motion. He's going to run the spot route. That's Jay Samaro. I don't know what's going on with Michael Vick. I don't know if he doesn't like to throw him the football or not. Watch how wide open he is. Yep, throw him the football. He's right there. Just go ahead and throw it to him. He's wide open. That's the first read in the progression. The flat is the second read. And you don't pass up the first and throw it to the second. And they're missing reads right now. And that's a problem.
Vick had only thrown 20 passes all season coming into today. 3rd and 1. Harvin on the end around. And knocked it out of bounds at the 5. Hit by Stephon Gilmore. A 9-yard sprint, which means a Jet 1st and goal at the 5 of the Buffalo Bills. Already you can see that he's far more effective in the limited time he's had the playbook in front of him running the ball.
You get so much more speed on the field when you add a player like Percy Harvin.
We're at the 2-minute warning. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for the latest NFL scores, news, and highlights, as well as a preview of Thursday Night Football on NFL Network. It's next in the Verizon Halftime Report. Percy Harvin on this drive has rushed for a first down on 3rd down twice. 1st and goal. Vick running out of room and throws it away. Bradham's going to pick up a flag. The linebacker, Nigel Bradham, out of Florida State, pushing down Vick. The two exchange a couple of words after the play on that 1st and goal at the 5.
I think he gets the right hand right in the face of Michael Vick.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense number 53 with the blow to the quarterback's head. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
1st and goal at the 2.
Well, they try the bootleg and they bring Vick out, trying to get it to Percy Harvin. You see Nigel Bradham, he just gets part of Vick's face mask right with that right hand, right to the top of his head. I'm going to call that one every time. Really was just trying to go for the left arm of Vick and just missed a little high.
So they have Harvin on one side. Decker at the bottom of his screen. Ivory is in. 1st and goal at the 2. Ivory. He'll outrun Bradham. And he'll outrun Williams and go in for the 2-yard touchdown run. Second rushing touchdown for Chris Ivory this afternoon.
We don't think of him as a speedy back, but he's got some of that sneaky speed. They run the downhill power play, and he just bounces it to the edge.
Rich with an extra point. It's a 10-point game after your team has turned it over 4 times.
It's amazing that that they're still in this game, and you've got to give them a lot of credit, really, for hanging in there and persevering through some adversity.
10-point game. Folk puts it through. 1:50 to play in the first half. The key on that drive, Harvin's 11-yard run on 3rd and 10, kept the drive alive for the Jets.
Well, Percy Harvin brings a totally different element to this offense, Kevin. They've not had a lot of production and, quite frankly, not a lot of speed at the wide receiver position. And it's how they're utilizing him right now in the offense. They're moving him around. He's touching the ball. He's getting some carries, the bubble screens. What they've had a difficult time is throwing the ball to him down the field. And that's the thing that Marty Morningwig talked to us about on Friday. Those timing and rhythm throws. He's a little bit concerned about that with a guy like Percy Harvin.
Well, that's what the West Coast offense is all about, right?
Right, but he hasn't practiced. He's been through a couple walkthroughs. He's had a couple practices. And remember now, he's had very little, if any, reps with Michael Vick. A good look at Sanjay Lal, the receivers coach there. He has spent a lot of extra time working with Percy Harvin.
So the concepts in a West Coast offense, and it's spread all over the NFL, and certainly with Marty Morningwig as a disciple of that, it's spread all over the league, but it has different terminology, and sometimes a 10-yard route at one team may be a 9 or 8-yard route at another.
Yeah, it could be subtle things like that. I mean, a comeback at 18 as opposed to 22. It affects your timing. And not only that, but you don't know how he's going to run it in certain situations. Versus off coverage, he may run it differently versus press man-to-man. And that's why you need those reps in practice.
Nick Folk, and he'll let it fly. This is McKelvin, about 7 yards deep. Out to the 20 and a knee from Leotis McKelvin. Week 8 continues later today on CBS. And for some of you on Fox. Then tonight with Sunday Night Football on NBC. And then tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN and Westwood One Radio.
You know, we spent so much of the time talking about Percy Harvin and the Jets quarterback situation. And we've forgotten to talk a little bit about the job that Kyle Orton has done, Kevin. He's been very efficient, just 6 of 12, but 2 of them have gone for touchdowns, and of course 139 yards. He's throwing the ball well right now for Buffalo.
Also has 3 timeouts, Rich, coming up. So Anthony Dixon on the 1st and 10 and picks up a meager yard as he tries to work his way in. A hand down there from Sheldon Richardson.
They're going to jump the ball, and they do have some time. And talk about that last drive last week against Minnesota. That was a thing of beauty for Kyle Orton.
Some of his completions were just thread the needle variety. Good block by Graham, but then they get through, and he's hit by a couple. Wilkerson on one side, Richardson on the other, and sacked he is. That's the second sack by the Jets defense. Timeout taken by New York. It's a loss of 8. The ball is back to the 13.
This is the one thing that Kyle Orton has a tendency to do sometimes, Kevin. He'll hold the football back there in the pocket, and he doesn't have that maneuverability or the escapability. He's more of a pocket passer. That's why the protection is going to be critical against this Jets defense.
I know you want a quarterback who's got some intensity, but Orton is almost the exact opposite of that. There's not a lot of edge of your seat conversation. Not that it's bad. He's just a very laid-back guy.
I think he's very different, in the production meetings, but I think the players certainly respond to his leadership. I think football is important to him. We know that. And I think he's a gamer. I think he's a guy that is a lot different on the field and in the huddle with his teammates. He's smart. He knows what to do. He's been in critical situations before. This has been a breath of fresh air for Doug Marrone and that offensive coaching staff.
Mike Williams, one of the receivers, with Woods still out. 3rd and 17. Jets are out of timeouts. It's Dixon, who gets a block on the play from Wood. And he finds not much room there. Hit by Pryor and a couple others. Gain of 3. The Bills have got a punt. The ball is to, well, they spotted the ball about the 16-yard line. So no timeouts for the Jets. Bills have 3. Schmidt will have to get off a good one here. And Curley is in waiting back at the 35.
Yeah, they run the ball there to keep the clock running, obviously, Kevin. And the Jets, as you point out, no timeouts left. Bills just want to get out of here in the first half, up 24-14.
Buffalo's 4th 3 and out this afternoon. Colton Schmidt. Ooh, was right. He goes down. No yellow. Curley, fair caught, 42. Hang a 4-7, 42-yard punt. So Vic will have decent beginning field position at his 42. No timeouts. 33 seconds on the clock with which to work, which now tells you, well, perhaps getting field goal range, and that's where Nick Folk comes into play, and he's got a good leg.
They need about 20 yards to get it done here to give Folk a chance. 33 seconds left. You got a chance to complete one in the middle of the field. Certainly those out-breaking routes are good, and you always have to account for Michael Vick pulling the ball down and running.
It's the best beginning field position today for the 1-6 Jets. You have Harvin at the bottom of your screen.
Throwing the ball away here, not the end of the world for Vic. Just cannot take a sack in this situation.
Blocked by Chris Johnson. He's going to get the ball for Tennessee Titan. Look at him go in space, and that's where he's affected. Bradham got him.
Clock it.
He's down to the 47-yard line. They do get the first down. You see the clock continue to tick. Vic takes his team to the line, and he spikes it, so it'll be 2nd down and 10 for the Jets.
They still have the ability with 17 seconds left to complete the ball in the middle of the field. I mean, even throwing another ball to Chris Johnson, picking up 10 or 12 yards, will work in this situation. They have the time to get up to the line of scrimmage and clock it again.
If that's the case, are you thinking as a quarterback sideline stuff? Are you thinking about make one shot downfield? Are you? I mean, how do you engineer this in your mind?
Well, I think they probably going to have someone go towards the sidelines, but you also got to get Chris Johnson out in the route as well, Kevin. Because as if he catches the ball in the middle of the field, picks up 10 or 12 yards, you can still clock it.
2nd down and 10. Harvin was wide across the way, and there's Curley.
Got time.
Who makes the grab? 9-yard gain, 37-yard line. They quickly assemble, and he clocks it with 5 seconds. Which will put a lengthy kick out there in front of Folk, but sure, you give him a chance like they did last week in New England.
And in that situation, if you're Michael Vick, you have to make absolutely sure that you're in a legal formation.
Sure.
And that was what he was doing there at the end, making sure that he was in a legal formation.
You've seen thousands of practices. You know, they practice this nonstop, don't they? To get in that legal formation.
Yeah, absolutely. You knew with 17 seconds left, there was plenty of time to still complete the ball in the middle of the field.
55-yarder coming up for Nick Folk. This could really make it an interesting second half should he get it. He's got the distance and drills it home. Zeros on the clock. And stunningly, Ryan's team coughs it up 4 times. And can you believe they're only down by 7 at halftime?
You know, that's incredible. You talk about a momentum swing in this game, and here's a team that you said, Kevin, that played ugly in the first quarter offensively. Geno Smith practically gave the game away, and this team just didn't give up. They continued to fight back defensively. They had some big stops. Rex has got to be thrilled with what just took place.
It was a 55-yard field goal to the sideline, and Otis Livingston.
Coach, your defense forced 4 turnovers in the first half. Your offense was able to move the ball. Are you at all concerned, though, that you've let this team hang around? They're only down 7.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the 2 of those turnovers we didn't get points out of, so we got to do a better job there. You know, and then obviously with the quarterback switch, we got to contain the quarterback run.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you.
Folk gets his second longest field goal of his career, a 55-yarder. The Jets get 10 points in the final 1 minute and 50 seconds. Good second half coming up. Down by 7, Jets trail on CBS. He's got Woods, and he's got the touchdown. Kyle Orton, a couple touchdown passes. Jets have 4 turnovers, 7-point Buffalo lead. What about the second half?
Well, I think if you're Buffalo, you're probably scratching your head saying, how's this game so close? But look, I think the message for Doug Marrone has to be a positive message. Hey, we're going to win this football game. We just have to continue to go out and do the things we're doing. They've already created 4 turnovers, Kevin. I think there's some more turnovers to be had from that Buffalo defense. Kyle Orton's playing well. I think they just got to go out there and continue to function and operate the game plan. It's worked for them. The one area where they have to be better offensively is on 3rd down. Just 1 of 6 on 3rd down, and that's prevented them from scoring a couple more times. They blew some very good field position that they had off of some of those turnovers.
They recall the Jets won the opening toss. They received, and so the kickoff goes to Buffalo to begin the second half. Leotis McKelvin is back to retrieve the kickoff from Nick Folk, who kicked a 55-yard field goal just before we got to the half. And here we go. They'll leave it in the end zone. Let's go to the sideline, and Otis Livingston.
Kevin, as you'd expect, the Jets came out with a little more pep in their step. Out of the locker room, Rex Ryan walked with a sense of purpose. Quentin Coples coming up the sidelines, raising his arms, exalting the fans on, getting them fired up. And DeBrickashaw Ferguson walked before me and said, we are right there. We are right there. Got outplayed in the first half, only down 7.
Well, you look at the Buffalo Bills, Otis. They've got 3 first drive touchdowns to start the second half. This is what they need to do. I mean, they played well in the first half. They just have to be able to finish some drives when they get across midfield.
Fake to Dixon. First, Coples has got Orton. They bring him down back at the 14. 3rd Jet sack, loss of 6.
Well, you're going to see Quentin Coples. He's going to beat the rookie right on his edge. Little spin move right there at the end. Quentin Coples on the one side and Wilkerson on the other side. Actually, Coples coming from Kyle Orton's left.
Coples has a sack and a half today. 5 in the secondary, 2nd and 16.
This is what you get with the veteran Kyle Orton. You see him changing the play at the line of scrimmage.
With Dixon, and then leaping on him was Wilkerson. It is a gain of only a yard to the 15-yard line.
Well, you look at Buffalo's first half possessions, Kevin. Touchdown to start, and then they had a couple 3-and-outs, and they had some opportunities. We talked about that, where they just didn't capitalize on some of the 4 turnovers that were generated by their defense.
It's 3rd and 15. They need the 30. With time, and Hogan at about the 28, and a gain of 14 on 3rd and 15.
Really nice protection for Kyle Orton. He had a chance to sit back there and take a couple hitches. You see it up front. The back's involved. Good job by the center. Good throw low and away to Chris Hogan.
They'll be short. 3 and out. They got a punt on their first second half possession. Curley is back for the punt from Colton Schmidt. And he's stationed about the 25-yard line. He's going to wave his arms away, let it bounce, and then take it. He did not signal for a fair catch. Guess he was able to kind of grab it and take off. Brought down by Dixon on special teams. 53-yard punt. Flag is down. 4-yard return. As we await the call, the Jets come in 1-6.
During the
Bills
kick,
4-3.
Return team, number 20. 10 yards from the end of the kick. First down, New York Jets. Timeout.
It's on the Jets. Here comes Michael Vick. Back out onto the field. His team down by just 7. Bills just had a 3 and out, and they punt. And here come the Jets at their 10 with the 1st and 10. Michael Vick, who takes the place of Geno Smith, who threw 3 consecutive interceptions early in the game. His legs have made a difference.
They really have. I mean, it just looks so much more comfortable under center than did Geno Smith.
Hyder in the backfield. Connor with the block and a tackle there by Brown. Linebacker, gain of 2 to the 12-yard line with the comparison of the 2 Jet quarterbacks today.
Right. What else can I say, Kevin? It's not even close. I mean, I've been doing a lot of games for a long time. I played 17 years in the league. I don't know. I can't remember a quarterback starting a game so poorly. Can you?
Well, coming off the performance of his last game at New England, where you thought he had played.
That's probably
that's
as good as I've seen him play. This is as poorly as I've seen him play. And again, the knock on Geno has been the ball security issues. He still hasn't figured that out in his second season.
Couple tight ends with Sudfeld. 2nd down and 8. Here comes Vick. He's it. Hughes got him. We're going to say he was down at the 1. 2nd sack, loss of 10. Hughes was all over that play.
You know, Jim Schwartz is a really good defensive coordinator. Go ahead and run it. They're going to run the stretch play here, the naked with the quarterback. But as you look down the field, go ahead and freeze it right now. Where are you going to throw the football? Everybody is covered. You see linebackers buzzing out, covering the crossing routes. I mean, they just got a great feel and a great sense for what the Jets are doing. There has not been a lot of windows, a lot of open lanes to throw the football against this Bills secondary.
With a 3rd and 18 and 8 for Harvin, who is down at the 7-yard line, seen that way by Preston Brown. He picks up 6, and the Jets will have to punt.
This is a good defense, Kevin, as you watch Buffalo. I mean, just, you know, they've got the great front. They've got talented linebackers. And I thought it was interesting talking with Jim Schwartz last night. He said, I'm as excited to work with the secondary. This is a good group. They've got depth. They've got talent. Gilmore's playing well.
Aggressive.
Leotis McKelvin, they're really aggressive. They sit on routes. They route read.
Quigley with the punt, and McKelvin is back. And a good field position once again. Looking for a block, which he receives right there, and he is down to the 27-yard line. With the tackle for the Jets made by special teamer Eads, A.J. Eads. 43-yard punt, 24-yard return by McKelvin.
Well, he's such a good returner as well. We talked about how the type of season he's had as a cornerback, but he's got great vision. He's a tough tackle. And another great opportunity for this Bills offense. This is one you've got to be able to finish. Keep on talking about you can't let the Jets hang around. It's a desperate football team. It's a team that's lost 6 in a row.
After the Bills' longest punt return of the season, 1st and 10 from the 27 of the Jets. And with the run is running back Bryce Brown. Picks up 4 down to the 23-yard line in a hit by a couple, including Wilkerson on that line.
I really liked Bryce Brown when I got a chance to watch him in Philadelphia. He's got great speed. He's got some explosiveness to him. I think he can really be an asset in the passing game. He's more of the C.J. Spiller, whereas Dixon's more of the Fred Jackson.
2nd down and 6. Brown again. There's a block by Urbick, and there's nothing there with a hit initially by Davis and then ushered out of bounds by Calvin Pryor. He's out of bounds about the 25. Losing 2 on the play. Bryce Brown.
Calvin Pryor will come up and hit you now. He hasn't had quite the impact they expected when they selected him in the 1st round of last spring's draft.
Does he play out of position to keep him deep more times? And
Yeah,
keep him in the
he's
box?
a box player. I mean, that's what he's cut out to do. Be down around the line of scrimmage. He's had to play more in the middle of the field because of the issues that they've had at the cornerback position. Look how deep he is in the secondary. Off the screen.
Mike Williams in because Woods is injured. 3rd and 8. Offensive penalty.
Ball start. Offense, number 84. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
And they're still calling Woods, by the way, questionable, but Mike Williams getting some time in there at the receiver position for Doug Marone's Bills.
How about that catch Scott Chandler had on 4th and 20 last week?
So maybe, what about the throw?
I talked to Kyle Orton about it. He said pre-snap it was too deep man coverage, and he felt like there was an opportunity. Chad Greenway had his back turned to Scott Chandler. He felt like that was the place to go with the football. Boy, that was a big-time throw and catch from Orton and Chandler.
Into the nickel, 3rd and 13. Watkins. And tackled by Walls, has the 1st down. He's down close to the 1st down. Jets 18. I think he had to get to the 17. He may not have gotten that extra yard. So he picks up 12 on 3rd and 13. They'll try for 3.
Well, this guy's going to be a terrific player once he figures it all out. Kevin, Sammy Watkins, very strong hands. He's a confident receiver. Rarely do you see him catch the ball with his body. Almost always with his arms and hands extended.
Dan Carpenter made that 53-yarder earlier, late in the 1st half. He's got a 36-yarder in front of him right now. After the punt return of 24 yards by McKelvin. The Bills cash in with a field goal. And our 3rd quarter clock at 8:31. Buffalo has gone up on top of the Jets by 10. Bills just got a 36-yard field goal by Carpenter, who has made 56 of his last 57 field goal attempts inside 40 yards. They've had it 3 times beginning in Jet territory, but they've only been able to get 2 field goals. And they'll kick off again. Bills off to their best start in 3 years, and with a 10-point lead, mid-stages, 3rd quarter. Harvin will take it from about 9.5 yards deep and wanted to throw, it looked like, and he had Pryor on one side, and he also had T.J. Graham, but he is doused inside the 5. That's where Vick and the offense will start. So the Jets trying to do something there in that kickoff, and it didn't pan out, and they begin at their own 3 with a 1st and 10, trailing by 10, with Ivory in the backfield for Vick. And drilled by Darius, gain of a yard. He is a dominant player on the line.
Well, you go back and look at the kickoff. This one's a little bit unusual. You're going to see T.J. Graham. He's down. He's down on the ground getting ready to do a push-up. As they kick it off, you see Jordan Gay kick it off, and Percy Harvin. He's going to come out of the end zone, Kevin. Now, keep in mind, he's only been here for 6 days, and he tries to lateral the ball. He's getting ready to throw the ball back into the end zone to T.J. Graham. I mean, you got to scratch your head with that call with a guy who just rolled into town last week.
2nd down 9. We got all kinds of movement there on the lines, as you see. Harvin was a high school quarterback.
Offense, number 66. Half the distance to the goal. 2nd down.
So Willie Colon. And the guy that really kind of comes up with that stuff, or one of the originals, was Dave Taub, who was at one time a special teams coach in Chicago. Now he's in Kansas City. So that's been tried before.
This is funny. I kind of caught this out of the corner of my eye. I thought for a second like he fell down, or maybe he got sick. I said, what is he doing?
Oh, it's funny.
You don't see that very often. That's the thing you got to always prepare for against the Jets, the gadget plays.
2nd down 11. And Vick Looking for Harvin. May have been tipped by Searcy. I'll have to look at it again, but Harvin was there. 3rd and 11 coming up for New York.
Well, the thing that Percy Harvin does have is top-end speed, and I think in that situation, Denoris Searcy does just enough to screen Harvin from making the catch. They really have played well in the Buffalo secondary. They just keep everything in front of them. It really starts with the corner play from Gilmore and McKelvin.
Powell in the backfield, 3rd and 11. Off the fingertips of Cumberland, who is covered on the play by Williams. It's a 3-and-out for the New York Jets.
That was a fastball. That was a hard one to handle. Still got to catch it. Jeff Cumberland looking down at his hands.
Second consecutive 3-and-out for the Jets. The punter, Ryan Quigley, as you take a look at McKelvin, will not have the full 14 yards here that normally a punter would have. Protector is quiet.
Good hang time.
And Leotis McKelvin, fair caught, 43 of the Jets, 41-yard punt. Cumberland trying to get his hands on this one for Michael Vick. Timeout. Pretty shot at Coney Island in Brooklyn. Here's the 4th possession start for Buffalo in Jet territory. In the previous 3, they've not gotten a first down and given this great beginning spot. It's Boobie Dixon who takes it down with a tackle by Harris on a gain of 5 to the 39.
I was just looking at Kyle Orton down there, Kevin, and you think about making the change from E.J. Manuel to Kyle Orton. And one of the other benefits it does is it helps with the development at the wide receiver position. You got some young receivers, Robert Woods, and obviously Sammy Watkins. But now you've got an experienced quarterback that can really help them not only in the practice field, but on the huddle and on game days.
They're down in 5. Good tackle there by Demario Dixon, bringing down the running back after a gain of 3. Anthony Dixon going down and to the 37-yard line. There's some shoving after the play.
You know, the thing about Orton, talking to Nathaniel Hackett last night, the offensive coordinator, he said when we first got him, he tried to figure out as fast as possible what he was comfortable with and really focus on those things. And I think you see how this offense has evolved with Kyle Orton. And Orton is great with the feedback. He'll tell you what he likes, what he doesn't like, and what he feels comfortable with in the game plan.
In the nickel with Jarrett out of your screen and way back at about the 10-yard line. 3rd and 2 for Kyle Orton. Blitz is on. Here comes Wilson. They get him back at the 42. They knock him out of field goal range. Buffalo will once again have to punt.
Well, you're going to see Wilson. He's right here, comes off the edge, off the bunch set. And the back is late getting over there. That's the problem that you have when you don't have Fred Jackson in there. Dixon late to get over there and pick up the stinger off the slot.
Jackson, a terrific pass.
Oh, he is the best in the business when it comes down to 3rd down.
At the punt. And the Jets have got Curley back at about the 10. Signals 4 as allotted the fair catch at the 13-yard line. So the Jets defense does their job on that previous Buffalo possession after that 28-yard punt. They get it, Orton, and bring him down with the blitz. This will be the 3rd second-half possession for the New York Jets, previous to 3-and-out. Vick is in with a 1st and 10. It's off to Harvin. He takes it up to with a flag thrown. There's a hold on the play, and it's against the Jets, and they'll wipe out a 12-yard gain. Probably a spot foul, too, depending on where that flag is.
Holding, offense number 33. Half the distance to the goal. Replay, 1st down.
Back inside the 10. Sideline, Otis Livingston.
Well, Kevin, Rich, you were saying that Michael Vick threw Jeff Cumberland a fastball during that last series. He came off grimacing in pain. They looked it over, the medical staff did, and they ended up buddy taping his middle 2 fingers. He's back in action right now. Let's see how successful he can be.
Looks like they pulled that joint out.
Looks like they did indeed.
Quick fix on the sidelines. Sure you want to play football at home?
1st and 14. Chris Johnson. He's brought down nicely by linebacker Nigel Bradham. It's a gain of 2 to the 12. Let's go to James Brown in our CBS studios.
Miami expanding its lead, Bart.
Ryan Tannehill drops back and finds Rashard Matthews on a 3-yard out route. Miami takes a stranglehold 24-6 in Jacksonville.
One and only voice of Kevin Harlan. Back to you, Kev.
Miami has had some nice steam here last couple weeks.
It starts with the quarterback, Tannehill. He's playing well. He had a big win on the road last week in Chicago. He completed his first 14 passes to start the game.
Vick into the nickel. 2nd down and 12. Boy, they came up, and here goes Harvin. 10. Oh, he got a nice block in the play by Amaro, but he's going to be flagged on that block, which came on Duke Williams, as the catch and run brought him up near the 29. 17-yard gain as it stands right now for Harvin. That flag was immediate and thrown right at the block of Amaro.
Illegal block in the back, number 88 of the offense. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. 2 plays, 2nd down.
Another spot foul.
Well, you look, you're going to see the blitz, and they don't even pick up Preston Brown. He gets a clean shot at Vick, and Vick just reacts and kicks it out into the flat. You see right here, that's the penalty. There's really no need for it. It's an inexperienced player.
2nd down and 11 from the Jet 13.
Learn to pull up in that situation.
It's tough. You got your momentum, though, carrying you right into it.
You got to understand the situation of the game.
Here they come again at Vick, who has to throw it away, looking for Curley, and the coverage by Nikel Roby. 3rd and 11.
Boy, Mario Williams is so frustrated. He has been close a number of times.
Many times, you're right.
They do a good job. You know, the great thing about the Bills right now is that they don't have to bring 5- and 6-man pressures. In that situation, they did bring the extra defender, but they're so talented right now up front. You look at Mario Williams, Jerry Hughes, you've got Darius and Kyle Williams inside. They've got 3 players with 5 or more sacks.
These are 2 terrific defensive lines on display. 2 of the best in the AFC.
Really
for sure.
good. They make you earn it.
3rd and 11. They need the 24. Powell in the backfield. Vick will dance and run. Roby trying to get an angle, and I think he kept his footing enough. He did to get the first down. Run by Vick to the 27. Picks up 14 yards for the New York Jets. First down of the half for either team.
I think it's important when you play against an athlete like Michael Vick not to underestimate his speed, but more importantly, not to overestimate your own speed. I mean, I think at times you don't think he's that fast. And all of a sudden, he gets up on you.
Did you ever overestimate your speed?
Absolutely. Every time I stepped on the field.
Right. 1st and 10. Chris Johnson looking for a block for Cologne, and flag was thrown down at the 30, they say, with a gain of a couple. This could be one of the longest 1 o'clock kickoffs in the NFL today.
Well, it's a good thing I don't have a flight, Kevin.
Personal foul. Clipping. Offense, number 68. Half the distance to the goal.
Giacomini.
Replay, 1st down.
He picks it up. He was on that Seattle Seahawks starting offensive line a season ago in this stadium in the Super Bowl win. Now he's a Jet.
Yeah, you're just going to see him. He's right here. He's going to go down and he's going to clip. He's going to cut the back of Corbin Bryant. You can't do that. That's how guys get hurt. That's why they have those rules in place. You got a player engaging with the guard in Corbin Bryant. He has no idea that the right tackle's coming down to cut him.
Now 1st and 23. Moving up again, and down he goes. Oh, fumble perhaps too. Williams down there pointing. It also looked like Corbin Bryant was at the bottom of that pile as they continue to dig. And with the ball is Stephen Charles. Nice play. Bryant and Charles inside.
Yeah, and Bryant gets it started. Vic steps up inside, and Bryant's the one. He actually knocks it out with his left thigh. I think somewhere in the bottom of that pile is Stephen Charles.
5th turnover. And again,
great field position for Buffalo.
-9 the Jets were coming into today. 5 turnovers at the 10, 1st and goal. This is Dixon. Gets a block from Chandler, and then a big pile of green brings him down after a gain of a yard down to about the 9. At the bottom of the pile once again was Harrison.
A lot of teams are having success against this Jets defense in this part of the field, Kevin. Not necessarily running the football, but throwing the football. We got up 18 passing touchdowns coming into today's game.
That's a lot.
And a lot of them have come inside the 20-yard line. They're so stout, tough to run against down here, but there's some opportunities to throw for sure.
For the Chandler, 2nd and goal at the 9. That's a good stop right in his tracks. Handed in by Richardson. Loss of a yard back to the 10. Richardson, the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year a season ago for the Jets.
Well, I know Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, well, and I know he's going to be really disappointed with the fact that the offense has not taken advantage of more of these turnovers and the field position that they've had throughout the game. The Bills' offense has been held without a first down in 8 of their 11 possessions here today.
Robert Woods is in. He's in the slot there next to Watkins. 3rd and goal at the 10. Orton deflected by Calvin Pace. They were going for the running back, Bryce Brown. It's incomplete. 4th down. And again, the Bills will settle for a 3-point try. And the Jets defense holds them out.
Stops again.
Yeah, again is right.
I don't think Kyle Orton ever saw Calvin Pace. Calvin Pace was rushing and then fell off.
Five drives for the Buffalo Bills have started in the Jets side, and they had yet to get a first down. 5 of them. 29-yard field goal here. And drilled in by Dan Carpenter. 29 yards away, the lead for Buffalo next over the New York Jets with 1:11 to play in the 3rd quarter.
Well, you mentioned the struggles that they've had offensively, Kevin. It won't make a difference if the defense continues to go out there and create takeaways. I mean, it's amazing. 5 turnovers already from the Jets. And, you know, it just started right in the very beginning with Geno Smith trying to force the ball to Percy Harvin. Another force here to the tight end, Cumberland. High to Decker across the middle. Williams there for the easy pick. Michael Vick careless with the ball, running outside the pocket. And then again in the pocket. Turnover created by Corbin Bryant. Just a good hustle, good effort play by the defensive tackle.
And you can see the turnovers and only 13 points. Yeah, by the Buffalo Bills.
Just the 1 touchdown and 2 field goals.
Field goals of 53, 36, and 29 consecutively for Buffalo.
But it won't matter because the Bills are just playing lights out defensively, Kevin. I mean, they're just doing a great job rushing, containing Michael Vick, and linebackers and folks in the secondary having a field day.
They've had 3 sacks. Buffalo Bill defense has today. 5 takeaways, as we just saw, in the ensuing kickoff. This by Jordan Gage. And they'll ensure there'll be no Harvin return here because it's the back line of the end zone.
And this Buffalo defense has been playing well for a number of weeks. They held the Vikings to 276 yards of offense. They forced 3 turnovers last week, and they had 5 sacks.
Saturday, it's a college football tripleheader on CBS. First, Air Force will visit Army. Then in SEC action, Florida tangles with Georgia. And in primetime, Notre Dame takes on Navy. Right here on CBS. 1:11 to go in the 3rd. Vick with Ivory in the backfield. And they're looking for Harvin, and the coverage across the way by Stephon Gilmore.
Well, Gilmore's all over Harvin. On the other side, Leotis McKelvin is like a glove on Eric Decker. They're trying these double moves, and Buffalo's really the corners, Kevin. I've just been so impressed, even coming into today's game, watching the tape on McKelvin and Gilmore. Playing as well as any corner tandem in the game.
The defense of the Bills have forced 8 turnovers in the last a little less than 2 games. Second down and 10. It's a gain of a yard. And right there with the stop among many was Jarius Wynn. He's been around a little bit. Dallas, San Diego, Tennessee, Green Bay. He had a deflection a little bit earlier in the contest, and now it'll be 3rd down and 9 for the Jets at their 21.
And, you just look at the Buffalo defense. They can blitz on their own terms now because of that defensive line. They can rush with 3, they can rush with 4 and get home and still drop 7 or 8 in coverage.
6 defensive backs, so they're going to drop 5 in coverage. Here's the blitz by Duke Williams, and it is picked off on the play. Grabbed by Searcy. And he'll weave his way through the offense and then get whacked by Cologne. It's a 32-yard return to the 14 of the Jets, and the interception by Denoris Searcy.
Well, Kevin, they're playing 2 deep man-to-man coverage, and they're trying to work in the middle of the field. But Michael Vick, this is just a force. This is as bad as what Geno Smith did in the first half. You've got trail coverage from the corner because you know that you have help over the top. That's just too easy for Denoris Searcy.
Bills have been held without a first down for 7 consecutive drives. Third quarter clock at 16 seconds. They're going to check and see, as they do on all turnovers, by reviewing if it indeed was a pick by Searcy. It was low and it was scooped up, and they'll take a look at it with help from the NFL office in the city.
This might be another one of those weeks where they carry Jim Schwartz off the field, Kevin. Defensive coordinator for the Bills. My gosh, his team is playing really well. His unit's playing really well.
Interceptions.
6 takeaways.
Yeah, I know. Gilmore's had a pick. The rookie linebacker Brown has had one. Aaron Williams has had an interception. And then Denoris Searcy, who did not have an interception going into today, may have just grabbed his first of the season.
He's got his arms underneath.
I think I was just going to say, you're right. Underneath, secure, untouched, and bounces right back up. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, who just finished a 5-year head coaching stint with the Detroit Lions.
Everywhere he's been, he's had good defensive lines. You think back to his days with the Tennessee Titans, Detroit Lions with Sue and Fairley and that group that he developed up there. Now you look at the group that he's inherited here with Mario Williams and Marcel Darius, Kyle Williams.
Ruling on the field stands. Interception, Buffalo. 1st and 10.
Now it's imperative that Kyle Orton and the offense do something, Kevin. You score a touchdown here, the game's over.
Six turnovers by the Jets, which means Buffalo, which came in +1 in the giveaway takeaway, now +7. And the Jets -15.
Let's go after this right here. It's time to take a shot.
Walls defending.
Take a shot.
Dixon, they're trying to throw a block, and then there's a Harris tackle along with Landry. It's a pickup of 4, and he's near the 10. That's the end of the 3rd quarter. Buffalo moving in again after a turnover from the Jets on CBS. This time the Jets had this kind of a turnover issue was against Buffalo back in 09. That was the last Buffalo win in this stadium, or in the Meadowlands.
What do you say if you're Rex Ryan and Marty Morningwig and the quarterbacks when you sit down and visit with that group in their quarterback meeting room on Monday? Hey guys, you're killing us. You're killing me. and my chances of sticking around here in New York. Can you do me a favor? Can somebody take care of the football, please?
2nd and 6. Dixon in the backfield with Summers.
Easy, easy, easy. That means he's going to change the play here. Hey, sit tight.
2 tight ends. Dixon hit by Pace. And looks like he's lost a yard. He'll go back to about the 12.
Been very conservative in this part of the field.
They
have
have.
Not, when they've had the turnovers, they've not taken the shot play. They run the ball in the early downs.
6 turnovers today by the Jets, all in their own territory.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him running here again.
3rd down and 8. 1 of 10. The Bills are in 3rd downs today. Woods along with Watkins, 2 of their receivers. To the end zone, caught for a touchdown, Chandler. Scott Chandler, first touchdown reception this season. First catch today, 12-yard throw by Orton, who's thrown his 3rd touchdown pass. He's hit Smith. He got Woods, and now he's got Chandler.
What a beautiful throw here by Kyle Orton. And that's the beauty, Kevin, of having a 6'7" tight end. He can go right down the middle of the field between a corner and a safety. Good throw there by Orton with the defender's back turned to the line of scrimmage.
With the extra point put through by Carpenter. A 20-point lead for Buffalo just into the 4th quarter. Another turnover does the Jets in. Bird's eye view. Scott Chandler has his first catch today, and it's in the end zone on a 12-yard throw from quarterback Kyle Orton. Chandler's had some pretty good games last week against the Vikings, 3 catches. But Rich has talked about a couple times today. He had that important 4th and 20 reception, which was huge in that game-winning drive orchestrated by Orton last week against the Minnesota Vikings up in Buffalo.
They love a big tight end that can run and can work in the middle of the field, and that's what they have in Scott Chandler.
Alvin will take it a couple of yards deep. Best return today has been 35 yards. He was belted off his horse that time by Ladler. It's a 24-yard return. Well, tomorrow on CBS, it's a great night for comedy, beginning with the season premiere of 2 Broke Girls, followed by an episode of The Millers. It all starts tomorrow at 8, 7 Central. Only CBS. The Jets only carry 2 quarterbacks like most teams in this league, and so after they've yanked Smith, they put in Vick, and Vick continues.
He suggests they should yank Vick.
I'm just
pointing that out.
Pointing out a roster situation. Vick hit and brought down. He has drove that time with a big-time whack. Jarius Wynn. Another sack in the 4th sack by the Buffalo defense today. And they drive him back to the 13.
Kevin, Jarius Wynn is really playing
nice
well
game
today. Absolutely. He's been around the quarterback a lot. See him here. Splits a double team, works back up inside with the little game that he had with Corbin Bryant. Man. And the benefit of that is that Kyle Williams hasn't had to play a lot here in the 2nd half.
The 2nd and 17. It's a Chris Johnson run. Branham was right there. Brown was there. Gain of 4. Let's go back to our CBS studios and James Brown.
Kevin, Seattle trying to eke it out.
Oh, yeah, Wilson to Wilson. That's Luke Wilson, that is, for the 23-yard reception to take the lead. Seattle up 13-9 with 34 seconds to go. Clutch.
Back to Kevin, Rich, and Otis.
Luke Wilson has taken the place of the injured Zach Miller, who's out with an ankle injury. Will be out for another couple of weeks. Wilson has stepped in, and they've had a big-time catch there, infecting that game.
Good Carolina defense, Kevin. They've given up 37 points or more 4 straight games.
Decker across the middle on 3rd and 17, make it 3rd and 13, and he was brought down by Preston Brown. He picks up 3. He's at the 21. Punt coming up for the Jets.
I talked about how important it would be once the Jets made the change from Geno Smith to Michael Vick for the Buffalo Bills to set the edge with their linebackers and defensive ends, and they've done a good job getting up the field, forcing Vick to sit in there and function as a pocket passer. A good job collapsing the pocket around Vick.
Quickly will punt. And they've got McKelvin back. Fair caught inside the 30, 51-yard punt. That expression says it all. 12:07 to play in this fourth quarter. The fans who have stuck around to watch the end of this one, 29-yard line after the punt by the Jets. First down and 10.
All right, 56 is the mic. Come on, down.
56 to Mike, that's the middle linebacker. Orton. Dixon. Duzable's in there with the stop, helped on the play by Wilkerson. They throw him for a 2-yard loss back to the 27-yard line. And tomorrow on CBS, it's a case so big these geniuses will need some help. NCIS Los Angeles' Linda Hunt guest stars on a new Scorpion. That's tomorrow at 9, 8 Central, only CBS. Second down and 12.
You know, the Bills only have 38 second-half yards, and yet they've scored 13 points already. So they've taken advantage of some good field position here in the second half.
We have a couple tight ends. It's second down and 12, and Dixon again. Like a rocket coming in there was Pryor. And Davis got him as well. No gain on the play.
Late flag.
Drew's been busy today.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 95, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
It's Antoine Barnes. He had a penalty kind of like that last week against New England.
It's his frustration. You know, you're getting blocked. You don't like it. You're losing.
When he played in that Patriot game last week, it was his first game of 2014. Barnes, remember, injured the knee week 5 of last season. First and 10 from the 42 for Buffalo. Kyle Orton. Nice Brown, who is very quick, although we really haven't gotten an indication of it today, with a stop by Dwan Landry. Gain of 7. He's up to the 49-yard line. Stay tuned for the NFL Today update presented by the LG G3, time permitting. From New York, busy day. This was one of the games that kind of took a little bit of a leap above some others, even though it was a 1-6 against a 4-3, because one of the more electrifying players in the league had been traded a week ago to this team as a jolt, but it has not served as a jolt today for the Jets.
Now, the Bills done a really nice job containing Percy Harvin and eliminating the explosive plays.
With the flag, 2nd and 3, handoff to Bryce Brown. You see Harris getting up off the pile. Also in there was Harrison for the Jets D.
Holding, offense, number 79, 10-yard penalty, replay, second down.
Making it second down and 13.
You look at Percy Harvin has done, really his best thing he's done, Kevin's returned the kicks. I mean, just not a ton of production there with the running and receiving, and not really surprised. I mean, he didn't have even a full week under his belt practicing, and it'll take a while to figure out who he is, what he does well, and learning this system. But this team has a ways to go. I mean, 6 turnovers are one thing, but it's the mental errors and the missed assignments and the penalties.
Oh, Watkins on 2nd and 13 off to the races, and they will not get him. Hogan had a late block there on Harris, and it's a 61-yard catch and run touchdown by one of the best rookies in the NFL, Sammy Watkins. He's been terrific. Orton throws another touchdown pass, his 4th of the day, and the lead of the Bills is at 43-17.
Well, he's going to beat Darren Walls, and then the safety comes in and really takes a poor angle, Calvin Pryor. Now, what he doesn't do here, Kevin, is he doesn't really showboat. He's going to make sure. First of all, not a lot of people are going to be able to catch Sammy Watkins from behind, but he made up for an earlier mistake. You see the smile on the face of Sammy Watkins. He is going to be a terrific player. He already is a terrific player. He's just so big and so strong with the ball in his hands.
You know, they traded up 5 spots to get him in the draft, and a few raised eyebrows. Oh, that is off the upright. A missed Carpenter extra point. Another big day for Watkins. Over 100 yards again. 123 last week, over 150 today. Let's look at the Buffalo offensive line. They've provided the kind of protection where Kyle Orton has thrown 4 touchdown passes today. That ties a career high.
They really did a nice job, Kevin. And Orton's had the time that he needs. And that was one of the things that Doug Marrone told us last night. That was the keys as he saw it. We've got to keep our quarterback upright, give him a chance to set his feet and make good, accurate throws down the field. Orton has done that all day.
So the extra point was no good. Here's the ensuing kickoff by Jordan Gay. Harvin leaving it in about 6-7 yards deep. At the beginning of the broadcast, we had a marquee matchup. The defensive line of Buffalo against the offensive line of the Jets.
Yeah, I really felt like the Jets would have to play well up front along that offensive line against 2 of the better defensive linemen in the game. They didn't do it. Kyle Williams was all over the place, especially in the first half. And Marcel Darius, look at him take on the double teams. It's a good job disengaging and making the tackle on Chris Ivory. This is a talented group. And it's one thing if you just had 1 or 2 very good rushers. They have 4. And that's tough. You can't always chip with the tight end or back when you have 4 really complete players along your defensive line.
Here's an Ivory handoff on 1st and 10. Hit by a couple defenders over there. Jarius Wynn got his hand on it. Gain of 5. He's out to the 26-yard line. Bills defense this afternoon, Rich, accounting for 4 sacks on Jet quarterbacks.
Well, they're 4th in run defense. They're giving up just around 80 yards a game on the ground, so they're very stingy there. And a much better job creating turnovers, and they lead the league in sacks. I mean, this is a really good defense.
Batted down. That was a 2nd and 5 throw. I think it was Manny Lawson. There was so much in the way of that flight path of the ball that Lawson's hand was one of the many up there. That was a batted down ball, 3rd and 5 for the Jets.
I think Mike Pettin laid a really good foundation a year ago. Jim Schwartz comes in and he puts his own spin on it. Got a good defensive coaching staff, and they've got a defensive coordinator that likes to challenge it, that likes to make your life uncomfortable if you play quarterback in this league.
5 and into the nickel. They go underneath. Jason Morrow is out to the 35-yard line, picks up 10 on 3rd and 5. They move the chains, and up there he'll go. Morrow is out of Texas Tech, and he is the #1 coming into today, the #1 rookie tight end receiver in terms of receptions and yards in the league. 1st and 10. Here comes Hughes chasing Vick. Ooh, my gosh, that was a big-time hit by Bradham.
Oh, my goodness.
Incomplete. Running for his life was Mike Vick. He looked around, wanted to get that license plate number. He goes, wow.
He almost decapitated.
I think that's what he's saying. Hey, watch out.
Watch out.
I mean, wow.
I mean, you could see that coming a mile. Look at this.
Great angle on it.
Those are the ones you sit there in the meeting room and you watch on Monday, and everybody goes, woo! Bradham has played well.
2nd down and 5. Make it for 2nd down and 10. What have you seen what the Jets do with their quarterback situation, Rich?
Oh, my goodness, it's a mess, Kevin.
After today, they go outside and tomorrow again. That was right over Mario Williams, who was defending and finally brought down by Corey Graham on the sideline. He's at the 46 of the Jets. He picks up 11 yards and a 1st down for New York.
I don't know how you can go back to Geno Smith. I mean, I think Vick's coming in. He certainly has played better than Geno, but he's a hard guy to figure out, that Geno Smith, Kevin. He was really struggled against San Diego a couple weeks ago. Played much better against the Patriots, but was just awful today.
Powell picks up 3. Tries to work his way, and Preston Brown is there. They put the ball at the 49. The coaches, I wonder, worry about messages if they throw Smith back in there. They're waving the white flag and saying we're working toward next year. We're developing these young players. We're going to put Vick in there because he gives us
next year
the best chance
to win. Ryan, I ain't worried about next year. I'm worried about next week.
Look again, throwing darts, close to a 1st down. That catch is made by Uwasu, Chris Uwasu. 1st reception for the Jets.
The one thing that Rex Ryan hasn't been able to get figured out, Kevin, is the offense. You know, you look at the struggles that they had with Mark Sanchez, the whole Tebow mistake, if you will, and of course, you know, sticking with Geno Smith and trying to make this guy a player. You know, you look at the numbers with Geno Smith, he's 4-1 when he doesn't throw an interception. He's 5-14 when he throws at least a pick.
Indicting. 1st and 10. They're going for Graham, and it's picked off by McKelvin. His 5th of the year. He came in tied as the #1 interceptor in the NFL, and he comes up with a big one. 7 Jet turnovers. 7 of them. And McKelvin with an acrobatic grab in front of his former teammate, T.J. Graham. Beauty. Gene Steratore has gone under the hood to see this possible interception by Leotis McKelvin of Buffalo. And a pass intended for T.J. Graham.
After review, the ruling on the field is overturned to an incomplete. It's not an interception. The ball will be placed back at the 44-yard line. It will be in the New York Jets ball, 2nd and 10 on the 44-yard line. The ball will be placed on the hash mark nearest the New York Jets.
Terrific attempt, though. Mike Carey is with us, and Mike, you saw the same thing.
Yes, Kevin. When you see the receiver, the defender going to the ground, as soon as he comes close to the ground, he loses control. The ball hits the ground on automatic incomplete. That's a great use of replay, because at first glance, it looks like an interception.
Terrific shots by our crew. You're right. Mike, I'm just glad you're sticking with us for this one. Thank you.
We listen for you guys to talk.
Good. Thank you. What a welcome addition to CBS, Mike Carey. 2nd down and 10. This is Powell again. He's had 2 carries on this drive. For the first time, he's been carrying the ball today. Picks up a gain of 7 with a hit from Bradham and Brown. A couple linebackers. The Buffalo Bills are 4-3 coming into today, entered in 2nd place. New England has won, crushing the Chicago Bears. Buffalo on their way to their 5th win as they go outside to Amaro again, pushed out of bounds by Duke Williams with a gain of 5. But the Buffalo Bills will win 2 of their first 3 games in the AFC East against opponents since 2007. They're already in their best start in 3 years coming in, and if they go on to win this, which it would appear they would, 5-3, the first time they've been 5-3 in 6 seasons.
Doug Marrone has done a terrific job, Kevin, with this football team.
Powell runs into the grasp of Aaron Williams as he races inside the 20 to the 17 on a run of 15 yards. He has.
You know, it's not easy to replace your quarterback. I think he did what he felt was in the best interest of the young quarterback and of the football team, and it's made a world of difference. Kyle Orton has come in, he's played well. The defense, I think, has responded. They're really good in the kicking game. This is a good football team that's got a chance to make the playoffs for the first time in a long time.
Vick did not fool the outside guy. Manny Lawson throws him for a 3-yard loss back to the 20. And it comes in a season where the team has been sold to someone local who has, as he said in his opening news conference, we bought a team today, which was just a wonderful moment for that part of Western New York and for Bills fans. And now they're starting 5-3 in the first half of the season.
Yeah, I know that Terry and Kim Pagula are really excited about this football team. That was a great press conference where Terry got emotional. This is his home. This is his football team that he loves, that he grew up watching.
2nd 13. Morrow across the middle. And sideswiped by McKelvin. Gain of 5 on the play. And then to have Sammy Watkins, who they gambled and moved up the draft, be the kind of performer he is, now 2 consecutive weeks of well over 100 yards receiving, and have the kind of imprint he's had on this team.
Remember, they're without C.J. Spiller. They're without Fred Jackson. I mean, they're some big cogs in the grand scheme of things offensively, and yet they still came in here and put up 43 points on a pretty good Jets defense. Impressive.
It's 3rd down and 8 for Michael Vick. They go out to Decker. McKelvin was there. Gain of 5. when you look at the New York Jets, now they've changed the quarterback situation, but they take a flyer on Harvin. Maybe he works out, maybe he doesn't. They've got the young quarterback Smith, but now he's been yanked, and we're not sure what happens from this point on, as he began with 3 consecutive interceptions after a 3 and out.
It's hard to imagine that you talk about Harvin, Kevin, that he'd be back under his current contract. I mean, he's due to make $10.5 million next season. I think either they'll cut him or they'll renegotiate his deal.
4th and 3, 15th play of the Jet drive, a flick of the wrist. Branham grabbing Decker. Flag is down. First down was accomplished with the catch on a 5-yard reception by Eric Decker, who leads the team in receiving yards coming into today. And some words after the play as they continue to sort it out.
He's twice. Bradham's just trying to make a play, and he just happens to get his hand up a little bit too high.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 53, half the distance to the goal, first down.
The Jets will have it 1st and goal.
You watch Bradham, he's going for the ball, and he actually gets, looks like he gets his hand up a little bit high on the face of Decker. Then you see the pushing. Some frustration there from Brino.
With a 1st and goal, Vick. Giacomini with the block. Ferguson with the block, and out of bounds he throws it. Pressure was there. Coverage in the secondary by Ron Brooks out of LSU, number 33 right there. Comes off the bench to get some snaps late in the game for the Bills.
If I just look at the Buffalo defense, you look at their depth. You look at Wynn, he's made a lot of plays. Bryant, Charles, Manny Lawson. And you've got in the secondary Corey Graham and Nickel Roby. Just a lot of depth and talent that they didn't have a year ago.
Powell in the backfield, 2nd goal. They bump into each other. Let's see if Powell can make something out of this. He slices in for the touchdown. 3-yarder by Powell. His first touchdown of the season. Run or catch.
More footwork related issues in the running game, right? We saw this earlier from Vick. He just about knocks the back over and doesn't give him vision to the hole. You got to be skinny. You got to stay on the midline and give the back some vision to that. Look at Rex, he can't believe it. He just can't believe it. Really a sloppy performance from this Jets offense.
17 play, 80-yard drive for the Jets, who will go for 2. It took 5:40 on this 4th quarter clock. 20-point game as it stands right now.
180. What is it?
Vick, and they have a drop by Curley. Jeremy Curley, and he had it in his hands, would have been the 2-point conversion. Aaron Williams was defending for the Buffalo Bills. Good pass, it was right there.
Yeah, you got to make that catch, and sometimes you get the receiver in the back of the end zone, Kevin. He's so concerned about getting those 2 feet in bounds, he doesn't do first things first and catch the football.
This week, Thursday Night Football moves to NFL Network with an NFC South clash featuring the Saints and Panthers. It comes your way Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, live on NFL Network. With 2 well-known quarterbacks in that one, Breeze and Newton.
It could be some offensive firepower.
Sure could.
Neither defense is really playing well right now. Sean McDermott's group in Carolina, mentioned it, Kevin, they've given up 37 points or more in 4 straight games, and Rob Ryan just can't get right with that defense and down there in New Orleans. They have struggled.
Rob Ryan, of course, the brother of Rex. This would be the 7th consecutive loss for the Jets if it goes on this path, longest since 2005.
What kind of coach would Rex Ryan be if he had a really good quarterback? You got to ask yourself that if you're Woody Johnson or John Idzik. If you gave Rex Ryan a Aaron Rodgers or even a Jay Cutler or Matthew Stafford, Just somebody that can sit back in there and throw the football, make good decisions, and not turn it over.
You know, Mark Sanchez is available after this year.
I'm just saying that.
Just
That's
looking
really
for free
been,
agent quarterbacks. I mean,
that's been the thorn in his side since he's been here in New York. He's never really had that consistency and production at the quarterback position.
Kelvin had to pick that up because it ricocheted off him, and then he had to retrieve it. Did not go into the end zone. He could not down it there, and it is out to the 5-yard line. Kelvin touching it and falling on it. Otis Livingston has been on our sideline today. Otis?
Well, Kevin, Rex Ryan should be very accustomed to the play of Sammy Watkins. His son Seth was a walk-on at Clemson with Watkins, and he said, for starters, he's a beast, a phenomenal athlete. He's got size, speed, strength, and real smooth hands. His weaknesses, it's hard to point out any. So as we saw today, the only way you can stop Sammy Watkins, I guess, is to get him in the open field and let him start showboating, and then you can tackle him from behind.
Happened today, but it was a pass completion of 84 yards. They eventually got a 2-yard touchdown run by Summers. There's a 1st and 10 handoff to Dixon. He picks up 5. Jumping on him, David Harris. So it looks like the Bills are going to maneuver to 5-3, and coming up, if you just go by the halfway point, a much-needed off week, and then Kansas City up in Buffalo, and that should be a terrific game.
And there's nothing like winning before your bye, and now this is an opportunity, really, I think, for the entire Buffalo coaching staff to get to go back and self-scout and look at the first 8 games of the season. And look at what you're doing well. Look at some areas where you can be better. Good time to heal up and take a look at the first 8 weeks of the season.
2nd down and 5. Close to a 1st down right there. Dixon on the run. Looks like Wilkerson. Richardson had jumped on.
They've got some winnable games, Kevin. They come out of the bye. They've got Kansas City at home. They got 3 of the 4 at home. Then they got to go on the road to Miami. Then they got the Jets again in Cleveland. They're all winnable games. We could be talking about a team that's 9-3. 5-3 after this one. They could win 4 straight. The Bills could be 9-3 here in about 5 weeks.
We saw Miami with an impressive game, and the Patriots steamrolled the Bears earlier today. This is a 3rd and 1 here. It's going to be a penalty on the Jets. It should be a 1st down.
Action defense, number 91, 5-yard penalty results in a 1st down.
A good job by the veteran quarterback Kyle Orton with a little hard count there, getting Sheldon Richardson. You're just not going to win a lot of games. Look at what the Jets have. It doesn't get any easier for them. They got to go to Kansas City. Look at those teams. Pittsburgh, they got their bye. They can't get here soon enough.
Down. Lady, what's up?
1st down. Dixon. Copels around his ankles after a gain of 3. And of course the Bills come into today without Fred Jackson, who they think may return in about a month. Plus he's got a groin from last week, and they lost C.J. Spiller, who broke his collarbone. Those were their 2 co-starting running backs who had been so effective.
Yeah, I really felt, though, that Brown and Dixon, Kevin, did a nice job. I think that they're only going to be a week better, because of this. These guys haven't played a ton. And, Bryce Brown didn't have a single carry coming into today's game, and just 27 carries from Dixon. So
2-minute warning. Games coming up on CBS. The Colts and Steelers in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had that resounding come from 14-point down first half, in which scored 24 points on the Monday night game against the Texans. 24 points in less than 3 minutes. 2nd down and 6. Dixon. Lead block there by Eric Wood, center. A 3-yard gain. 3rd and 3 coming up to the 27.
A lot of sad faces on that sideline, huh? People questioning where you go from here. Obviously, Kevin, they've got to make a decision on the quarterback. That'll be the first thing that Rex is asked about after this game. Do you go with Geno Smith? Do you go with Michael Vick? I don't think either of those choices are great ones right now for the Jets. The better alternative at this point has to be Michael Vick.
It's 3rd and 3. Fixing close to the first. Copels with a stop along with Allen. Go back to Chris Chandler and Stan Gelbaugh. The Jets today with those two quarterbacks, Geno Smith and Michael Vick. First team to have 2 quarterbacks with 3 turnovers same game.
Yeah, you have to understand who you are as a football team. And I think if you're the Jets, you've got to say we can play good defense. We've got talented enough in the kicking game. We've got to be able to run the football, and we just can't turn it over. I mean, that's the only way they're going to win football games. No secret to that. That's always been kind of Rex's philosophy, but boy, the turnovers were just an absolute killer today against the Bills.
Bills defense, 6 takeaways, a season high, 4 sacks, and Doug Marrone has his 5th win. The Bills are 5 and 3, and it's the first time they've had that record in 6 years. And the terrific Bills fans that came to New York to watch this one here in New Jersey are thrilled behind the bench and cheering on their team. The Jets lose their 7th consecutive game, the longest losing streak for them since 2005. Game 2 of our NFL on CBS doubleheader is coming up next. Final, Bills 43, Jets 23 from the Meadowlands. You've been watching the NFL